it's dawned on me that you ain't coming back. I've lost my chance to see us find our way back. And in the end, amidst these trying times, I'll always try to find you. I'll lie to you to find the truth that you hold back. So stay with me. You know that I'll follow. I can't breathe. Together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my arms, and we'll start again. So stay with me. Together we'll fall apart. Dramatically talk to me, and it's so funny, you're all I wanted, and I can't talk, want you out of my life, so say none. I'll wait for days if you ain't one, I'll say none. So stay with me, you know that I'll follow. I can't breathe, together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my arms, we'll start again. So stay with me, together we'll fall apart. Together we'll fall apart. Together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my arms, and we'll start again. So stay with me. Together we'll fall apart.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and
But
Pouget.
before you know it, we find ourselves here in the.
I mean, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and the drift is going off. All the way from back there. They're on board with Ben Gregory now. I love it. 16.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening indeed. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another round of the third season of the sim racing magazine GT4 Challenge. It's fantastic to be back after what feels like an absolute age since the first round of the championship, and it's great to have you all here with us from Road Atlanta. What a fantastic circuit to come to, a circuit that's seen the first round of the championship over the last two championships that we've had, and it's certainly a great venue, a very tricky one at that. Plenty of slipstreaming and even maybe a bit of fuel saving on the cards. Chaz Draycott here in the commentary box with my wonderful co-commentator Ed May alongside me. Ed, you've had some wonderful races around here before as well, not just in GT4 cars. This is going to be a bit of an interesting one tonight, isn't it? Because a lot of these drivers have a lot of experience here. It's a bit of a yardstick, this circuit.
Oh, it really is. This is where you can see the drivers that have the experience and those that do not. I was doing some practice just yesterday, actually, and seeing some of the drivers that are a little bit new to the series, getting some good laps in. And actually, a lot of the drivers, when they first joined into the session, were way off the pace. It takes a good sort of 4 or 5 laps to properly get the feel of the circuit in these cars, and then you can start to properly push it. So I think those that have put in minimal practice, well, we'll definitely be seeing exactly who those drivers are when we get out onto qualifying, which will be in just about 6 minutes' time.
It will indeed, but for now we're going to look at the championship standings. So Callum Brandt obviously taking that amazing race victory in the first round of the championship. Nobody saw that one coming, no offence Callum, but a great win indeed for him, ahead of Dominic Brennan and Lewis Ward, makes those three the top 3 in the championship. Simon Povey is tied with Christian Saruta on points on 16 because he got 1 point for pole position, but obviously that dramatic spin halfway through the race put him down the order and he eventually recovered into 6th position. It does mean though that Spontex CDM Esports Scourers still lead the team's championship on 38 points, Apex Racing Academy second with just 7 points less, and then RD Simsport third with just 2 points separating them, Boosted Jericho and RD Simsport 2. It's going to be a very close affair all the way through. Once again is the team's championship, and it's part of what we love about this series, really, isn't it, Ed? Because there are so many great drivers in all of these teams that can do so much in just one race meeting.
Yeah, exactly. There's some very strong teams out there, and like you say, there's plenty of points on offer for drivers if they have a successful race meeting. I can see them catapulted up the order, especially because of the unpredictability of GT racing, and especially in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, there's always that little room for those unpredictable moments. I mean, who could have predicted Callum Brandt coming through to win the first round of the championship when he was, where did he start, 11th or something? He started way off of the pace.
Yeah, I think it was all of a sudden on the grid. 9th or something.
Yeah, he's just in the top 10, and it was absolutely insane, the drive through the field, but also the strategy call, and it's always the RD Simsport boys that have, you know, a little bit of something in reserve, maybe a few tricks up their sleeve, and they'll need to do that, I think, here tonight, because the man to beat is the Spontex CDM Scourers driver, the Season 1 champion, Simon Povey, who is looking very quick out there and has looked very quick in practice all week long.
Yeah, absolutely. Simon certainly knows what he's doing in this McLaren. He's just over 1/10 of a second clear at the moment from Callum Brandt, and then, of course, reigning champion Lewis Ward as well. It was great to see Simon and Lewis going head-to-head once more at Mid-Ohio for the first round of the championship, and we hope to see more battles between them as the season goes on. We've got a fantastic field of 32 cars currently in the server at the moment. Nils Cole was one of the interesting drivers from round 1 as well. He certainly got involved in a lot of battles, as somebody's just gone ploughing into the barriers there. He got involved in a lot of battles, did Nils, and he was involved in a few moments, of course, over the race. Unfortunately, contact between himself and Simon Povey near the end of the race determined who came out on top in that battle. But still, he was a real eye-opener, and in that BMW, he's flying the flag at the moment, because Christopher Smith, while he is the strategic genius, as we've found out, Ed, he's not able to convert that BMW's pace at the moment compared to what Niles can do.
Yeah, sadly not. And as we look down through the field, actually we can see the manufacturers up on the screenshots, because yeah, we can actually, because if you can see, the fastest Aston Martin is only down in 16th position. I did say to you, Chaz, just yesterday I was doing a few laps in the car, and I had a feeling that that car would struggle around here, and I think it's sadly all too prevalent there. The car is just not on song with the circuit, but it's great to see the McLarens having company up there with the Mercedes of Callum Brandt, this time over 1 lap. Pace is definitely in that Mercedes around here.
Yeah, for sure. And Christian Saruta up there as well. He was a real eye-opener in the first round of the championship also. But look how close it is. I mean, we've got just over a second back from the fastest time to Paul Goffin. Lovely to see the two SRM cars in shot there. That is Paul Goffin and then Drew Fletcher, one of the championship sponsors who we must give a shout out to. A big thank you to all of our sponsors in this championship. The wonderful Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge is very lucky to have Orris Digital, Crockery Direct, Blinds to Go, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Mydas Simulations as its sponsors, and you'll see their logos going through the top right of your screen as the broadcast goes on. We do try and give a bit of info on each of them, but of course it's a very, very busy race. Considering it's an hour-long GT4 race with the pit stops included, it's almost like a big sprint race now, isn't it, Ed? Because obviously we don't have to worry about reliability of the cars in sim racing, but much like in real-world endurance racing, everything is at such a high level now that they do just become hour-long sprint races, don't they?
Yeah, they are, and it's quite interesting to see the different strategies that the drivers do try and use. Obviously, fuel saving has been something that's been, well, in a hot topic, shall we say, because of the just dramatic results that RD SimSport have been able to pull off as a result. But also, I think there's something to be said about just properly charging for it. I mean, Simon Povey, he most likely would have won that race had he not had that spin, even with the fuel saving done by the Mercedes of Callum Brandt. So I think there's a few different ways that drivers can look at this, but for me, I think it's going to be so difficult for anyone to hold a candle to Simon Povey. He's just been so quick over one lap, and there's going to have to be some sort of, I guess, smart game being played by the likes of Callum Brandt and Lewis Ward.
Yeah, for sure. You have to just try and outthink the other drivers, don't you, sometimes in a championship where strategy can come into play. So I'm excited to see what the guys make of that. Mike Horder's a very quick driver indeed in the series. He's down in 10th place at the moment, but it just shows once again how much the level has gone up once more in this series. Every single championship we've had, I mean, we may only be on the third, but still, the difference in pace and the quality of the field has just got better and better each time. And we look forward to seeing how it continues to progress over the season, because even in seasons 1 and 2, actually, Ed, we've seen an oh, hello, Chris. We've seen an improvement in drivers, haven't we, that have got quicker as time has gone on, and they've become more prominent front runners as the season progresses. You know, into the last couple of rounds of a championship, we often get surprise results almost, don't we?
Yeah, but like you say about this being a yardstick, this is one the drivers that have raced in championship before will know all too well, and those newcomers, well, this is going to be a real test to see where they match up. Mid-Ohio was a circuit that not really anybody had raced that before, so it was a good, nice, clean slate to open out the season, a bit more a level playing field for the sort of veterans, I guess, of the SM GT4 Challenge and the new rookies on the block. So now this is, I think, going to be a real eye-opener just to see where the pace lies in a lot of these drivers. But so far, so good for the likes of Simon Povey, Callum Brandt, Lewis Ward, and also Dominic Brennan. I'm excited to see what the two Spontech CDM Esports Scarrows can do, because they've got to be a favourite for the championship in terms of the team's championship. But Dan McCauley, he's on the mend, and you can imagine the latter half of the season, he's going to be getting a lot more pace back with him.
Yeah, definitely. I know that Dan's elbow is getting better. We were talking a lot about it at Mid-Ohio. He had a BMX accident and landed with his full body weight on his elbow. He was just telling me earlier that he's been throwing himself back at the wood again, though, on his BMX, despite the elbow, and he's now done his hip in. So he's a battered boy, is Dan, but he's still pushing on. Good to see everybody in the chat. Alex Goldschmidt, White Band Gaming, Jakub Szymanski, Thomas F, and Ian Holland. Hello to you all. Hope you're all having a wonderful evening, and welcome along to the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge here on Chaz Draycott Media. Chaz Draycott and Ed May in the commentary box, and hopefully a prettier stream for you tonight. A lot of my friends and people close to me are fed up of me talking about the word fibre at the moment, but I had a fibre connection put in yesterday at home, and honestly it has changed my life. I've been plagued with internet issues for the last 2.5 years, as a lot of you know that have watched my broadcast before. It's all I complain about, and hopefully now things are looking much tidier and much smoother. So yeah, hope you're all enjoying it anyway, but welcome along, and it's lovely to have you here with us this evening. You're in for an absolute treat, as you always are with the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Let's have a look on board with a driver, Ed. Who do you nominate in our field that we should run on board with here?
Let's have a little look at, why not the driver who currently leads the championship, Callum Brandt?
Yes, indeed. Good shout in the Mercedes. He's just going past one of his teammates there, Guy Edwards, on the right-hand side into the chicane. We've got the car noises turned down a little bit on board, because I've noticed in a previous stream that they were stupidly loud. So we have them turned down a little bit right now. But we're on board with Callum Brandt round the final corner. Easily one of the most difficult corners on the circuit here, Ed, because obviously it sets you up for the next lap. You've got to get a decent run through there and not overdo it. We saw quite a big incident at the end of last season's race there, didn't we, between Dan McCauley and Jacob Money?
Yeah, we did. I think it is flat out in these cars, but like you say, it's all about getting the line judged absolutely right. Same with here. Take a lot of the curb over on the inside, not too much to invalidate your lap, and then here, if you've got the line right, you can go essentially flat out all the way through, turning in nice and early. The understeer will try and drag you out wide, but you can use the curbs to counteract it. And again, careful of the bumps on the way in to this left-hander and using all of the curb on the outside. It's one that you can certainly just throw the car at and it'll just stick with it. Into here as well, nice and cambered, chucking in the speed because you don't really need to worry too much about the exit. You're back on the brakes yet again through the right-hander, the all-important right-hander onto the back straight. Some drivers like to avoid the curb on the right-hand side. Others try and take it and carry the momentum through. And now look at this, an excellent slipstream from Callum Brandt, but will it be one that might seem held up potentially into the chicane? It's going to be tricky here, and he might just lose a little bit of lap time here.
Yeah, I think he will as well. Christian Saruta, the car in front. I think they've got with them there. Who's the... Oh, no, there's contact. It's Ben Gregory and Christian Saruta. Contact between the two. I'm not sure Christian should have gone for it, to be honest with you. Maybe really, conceded and waited another time round and, well, then set up the next lap. But still, not the best call, that, I don't think, by Christian. Currently fastest is Johnny Elia in the Mercedes. He's done a 126.3. Paul Goffin second. Byron Crawford third. Then Mike Horder and John Roberts in another Mercedes. Christopher Smith obviously being affected by that time. Guy Edwards also heavily affected. Andrew Shepherd as well. There will be not many pleased people with that incident there. That was very unnecessary, to be honest, as Rob Sharp goes fastest. Great to have Rob back with us. This is his first race this season. We missed him dearly at Mid-Ohio. He's honestly, we don't have favourites, but Rob is one of the many lovely people of this championship that we love speaking to and love seeing out there in this gorgeous Orris Racing Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport MR. Rolls off the tongue. But he is certainly one to watch, is Rob Sharp. He had a fantastic end to season one, almost winning a couple of races if I remember rightly, getting a couple of podiums as well, and he's been very, very quick since then as well. He's not dropped pace at all, so let's see how he gets on. As Neil...
a great partnership last season as well with Jacob Money, yes. I think, one that we sort of orchestrated because they were the lone Caymans out on circuit, but now it seems that Rob Sharp's got a fair few more Caymans for company out on the track there.
Does indeed. The two Apex cars cross the line, and it's not pole position for Lewis Ward or Dan McCauley. They go fourth and fifth now after Mike Horder displaces them. Tom Weston crosses the line. Tom's an interesting talking point this evening, actually. He goes ninth fastest. He has changed to the Mercedes. He's taken a 25-point hit in the Drivers' Championship to change car mid-season. As Callum Brandt goes fastest, Dominic Brennan slots into second by 0.07 of a second in the Spontex CDM Esports Scourers machine. For some reason, Dominic's numbers have changed this week, and it's not now stamping in white on the number boards where it should, but it's actually coming through as
Simon as well.
Black as...
He's just going to come through for a lap time. He hasn't had a lap time yet, invalidated, I think, his first flying lap attempt. Let's see what he can do across the line.
90 thousandths by Simon Povey puts him fastest. Nils Core has improved in every sector on this lap as well, though. Once again, it's similar to the Formula One World Championship in the Pro Mazdas, isn't it, Ed, where these cars can take a couple of laps to get up to full temperature here.
Yeah, it seems like they do, and also the drivers need to take a couple of laps to properly get their eye, and obviously with all of the drama out on the circuit already in qualifying, it sometimes takes a little bit of time to get into the rhythm. We'll see across the line if Nils Core is going to improve. He doesn't. He stays fourth fastest. But like you say, the Aston Martin's really struggling. Byron Crawford fastest at the moment in 10th place. We'll see Lewis Ward across the line. The purple final sector, that is enough for pole position by over 1/10 of a second. Now in practice, that was essentially the best lap time that we were seeing, was around about a 25.180. The track temperature is a little bit hotter than what I remember seeing the drivers practicing with as well. So, and no, Simon Povey did have a 24 in him, but I'm not sure if that's something that we'll be seeing here tonight, unless he gets a nice bit of slipstream from his teammate.
Christian Saruta's just gone up into 9th position. An improvement for Christian, but after the earlier lap with the issue, he won't be too pleased with that. Ryan Penny has just gone quicker as well, moving himself up into 19th place. But great stuff by Lewis Ward. And again, we have a fantastic group of drivers near the front of the field as Simon Povey responds and he goes even faster. But look, he's doing this with no slipstream either. He's just getting himself into a clear space on the circuit, and he's going faster and faster all the time. It's good to see Mark Johnson back with us in the championship in the Legends Racing Machine in this gorgeous Aston Martin tribute livery that he's been running. I believe it was painted by Gilles Gardner as well. Very talented man indeed is Gilles. He's got that blue pretty spot on, to be fair, hasn't he? Around the final corner he goes, making a wonderful rumble as he goes. 28th place, hops all the way up though into 17th, so good improvement there by Mark Johnson. Dan McCauley is in 10th at the minute, hoping to improve as well. I think he may have been given a little bit of slipstream by Lewis Ward. It's not going to be much of an improvement by Dan though, I'm afraid. If any, it's a 1:26.2, and Simon Povey remains at the top of the field. We've got Philip Hopley, Pete Thickett and James Holman not out in qualifying yet as around goes Dan. Off at turn 1. Easy to do that there though. Ben Gregory is the only driver that's on circuit that hasn't put a valid lap time in yet.
Well, is that set to change? Bit of a hit the curb, way out of track. Final, well, I guess what you would call the second to last corner, coming through the final corner now, up to the line. What will Ben Gregory be able to do? No time seems to be coming through, so this is essentially getting into the final half of this session where he needs to really get a bit of a shift on and get those times in. A lot of other drivers coming into the bits to change tyres. Simon Povey and Lewis Ward there taking their time.
There's been a big shuffle actually in the top 10, you know, Ed. There's been a big shuffle. So now it's Povey, Ward and Brennan's moved up there. Brandt's gone down to 4th place. Rob Sharp has gone up to 5th in his Porsche. So he's representing the Porsches at the moment. Then he's got the 2 BMWs of Niles Kaur and Christopher Smith behind. There's a car off there. That's Ryan Penny at the side of the road. Mike Horder and Johnny Elia both inside the top 10 as well now. Guy Edwards and Dan McCauley just outside of it. So again, fantastic performance by a lot of these drivers, but still they're just getting knocked down position after position. Ryan Penny's going well up there actually, 14th place. Good lap from Ryan.
Yeah, maybe not a great place to park the car there, just in the foliage, but we can see him now back out onto the circuit. I'm so excited just to see round 2 between Niels Kaur and Christian Saruta. Those two were banging doors, banging panels, banging everything together, weren't they, around mid-Ohio? And through here it's going to be, I hope it's a similar story, because I just love to see drivers properly going at it. There wasn't anything underwater, there wasn't any big incidents, it was just good, hard, proper GT style racing.
We've got Pete Thickett on circuit now. He's just completed an outlap and he's gone very wide at turn 1 there. He's a little bit late to the session here, I'm afraid, so let's see how he gets on with this one. He's in the gorgeous Scuderia Chicken House car, painted by, I believe it's called Red Sim Design, which is Blaine Sparling's sim design company essentially, as his brand. Oh, that was Drew Fletcher off the road. Drew's off as he nearly avoids the barrier. I was just chatting to Drew yesterday. He's a lovely bloke. We really do get on, and he was telling me how he was trying to find motivation to get in the rig tonight, because let's not forget the fact that it is red hot in the UK at the moment. It's currently, well, it's 8:10 in the evening and it's still 24 degrees outside, which is hot for here, of course. But the main thing is that you all obviously keep yourselves hydrated above all else. It's difficult to stay cool, so I'd be stupid to just say, try and stay cool. But what I want to tell you is make sure you are hydrated. That is the most important thing. It really is. I know it sounds very patronising to say, but honestly, look after yourselves in these conditions, and the drivers need to do that as well. They were all posting different pictures of what type of fan they've got in their sim racing rooms, weren't they, before the broadcast went live. Rob Sutherland is having a bit of a struggle at the moment, but again, Aston Martin not great round here by the look of it. The highest placed of them is Byron Crawford at the moment in 13th place. We'll go on board because it just sounds absolutely gorgeous, doesn't it? That 4-litre V8 singing away.
The thing with the Aston as well, though, you just heard it through turn 1, is that you're almost always between gears around here. It's just so awkward and fiddly around here at points, especially to turn 1. You're just on the verge between 4th gear and 5th gear. If you're in 4th gear, you're on the revs so high that the car's a bit twitchy and a little bit loose. If you're in 5th gear, you've got no grunt and no drive. The car just bogs down on the exit, and then that sort of carries you all the way up the hill. You lose time there. Down through the S's, it's a little bit nicer. It's quite an alright car, but everywhere else it just struggles. Again, getting the car turned in, it's tricky. Any amount of hitting on the curves, the car just really doesn't seem to like it, and the traction control kicks in, you lose a lot of time. I'm just not sure if this is the car to be in, sadly, which is a shame, because I love the Aston Martin, as I'm sure you're well aware, Chaz.
Yeah, you are a big fan of the thing, and I don't blame you, to be fair. It's a wonderful car. It looks fantastic, sounds fantastic, and in the real world, goes fantastic as well. There was a move there up the order from Niles Core. He's gone up into 5th place. There's identical times from Christian Smith and Mike Horder as well. Christopher Smith and Mike Horder. Rob Sutherland moves up to 28th place with a 1:27.284. Ben Gregory did get a time on the board in the end and is now up there in 16th position. He's on another outlap now with just 3 minutes left on the clock. A bit of an improvement coming here from Pete Thickett, who does cross the line and improve up into 15th place for him. Once again though, Ed, less than 2 seconds covering 24 cars at the moment in time. It's pretty remarkable. Yes, we may have 3 McLarens at the top, but there's a good mix of manufacturers in the middle. The Mercedes, BMWs and Porsches up there at this moment, and we love to see a bit of that. James Holman's just about to complete his first lap of the session as well. Fausto Pinto moves to 25th. Holman goes 11th in the Porsche, so another one gets right amongst it.
Callum Brandt's pushing. He's done the purple second sector. Lewis Ward with a purple first sector, so they are really starting to go for it now. Down into the chicane. Callum needs to be careful here to not run into the back. He's all right there as he powers out with a bit of slipstream from Dan McCauley. What will this be over the line? An improvement in the third sector as well. As he breaks the timing, will this be enough for pole position? It's close, but not close enough. A 10th shy of Simon Povey's effort that sees him jump up 1 position up into 3rd, but no longer is it the all McLarens dominating the top 3 spots. We've now got Mercedes up in the mix. Of Simon Povey now, he's been able to do some personal bests on this time around. Will that be enough to get into the all-important 24? I said he had a 24 in him, and look at what he's just gone and done. Boy, Simon Povey's gone through there. And I love it when he proves me right. I hate it that he's faster than me, but I love it when he proves me right.
Oh, absolutely. Simon really does lower the morale a little bit there, doesn't he? Nearly a quarter of a second quicker than Lewis Ward in second place. A great time. Dominic Brennan improves, and he's only 3,000ths now off Callum Brandt. There's then a bit of a gap back to Niles Core. Dan McCauley moved up into 6th position as well with his latest lap. And now we have less than 9/10 of a second covering the top 12 around here, which is really, really awesome to see. We love it in this championship, how competitive it is. But it's not only that, is it, Ed? It's how friendly all these drivers are behind the scenes as well. Everyone gets on so well in this championship and in the entire community that's what makes it so much fun to commentate on and to broadcast, because we know that all the time behind all of this, yeah, there may be the odd incident here and there and the odd bit of contact. People always disagree on that. It's motorsport, it's competition. But everyone will be having a laugh with this and enjoying themselves, I'm sure, if not sweating to death.
Oh, yeah, I mean, sweating to death is, I think, out of the equation. It's going to be happening for everyone. I mean, me and you, Chaz, we're going to be having to keep hydrated here, and we're just sitting on our backsides talking about it all. So I dread to think what it's like to be, you know, behind the virtual wheel of these things. It'll be an absolute nightmare. You could see some drivers needing, well, to be wrung out with a towel, I think, after all of this. It's going to be that bad.
Well, Simon was actually saying before that on a previous race he wore a vest in one of his previous races when it was red hot, and his seat in his rig, I mean, he's very committed, because his seat in his rig is just bare carbon fibre, and he said he was peeling himself off it by the end of the race, as you can imagine, which made a hell of a noise. It's like when you sleep on a leather sofa, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah, in the middle of summer you sort of feel it sticking to you, and it's like, oh, you want to make sure you peel yourself off nicely, otherwise you leave like a thin film of skin there behind. It's that bad sometimes. But yeah, here we go. James Holman across the line. Doesn't improve, and the checker flag is out, so that is his qualifying session over with. He will be starting 12th place at best. Drivers in behind looking to improve. Drivers like potentially, actually, I'm going to go to Dan McCauley here, and just as well, actually, because he has done 3 personal best laps. Will this be enough to get him up alongside his Apex Race Academy teammate? Potentially. We'll see a nice little slipstream across the line as well. Oh, this could be a very nice time as he breaks the beam and goes up into 5th place, improves, but just still a little bit shy. And there's a big gap, actually, isn't there, between Dominic Brennan and Dan McCauley? Almost 3/10 of a second. Well, that's quite a gap in this this championship.
It really is. I've just noticed as well in the previous lap that James Holman's got the wrong decal layer on, and that's on my part, not his. He's still got the Road America 400 kilometres decal layer on. Simon Povey's just on a lap that would still be enough for pole position with no improvements on it. Pete Thickett crosses the line. That's got to be an improvement, surely, Pete? No, he must have invalidated the lap time somewhere. Drew Fletcher's just going around the final corner in the Sim Racing Magazine Racing Team B McLaren, and he does not improve. Mark Johnson is on for a better lap, though, by the look of it. Where's he at the moment? Currently down in 22nd place. looking for a little bit more from his Aston Martin. See whether he can finish the session with a better time. I think he'll be the last car across the line as well. Is there an improvement? We wait. The delay of the timing screen updating it. No. 1.608 seconds off at the moment. And I'm afraid for Mark Johnson it's not enough to move up another position. Callum Brandt seems to be pushing here, Ed, but I don't think that this is going to be...
Right.
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be much of an improvement, if any, at the moment.
No, potentially not as well. Actually, his teammate Guy Edwards on a lap as well, and he might be able to improve. Through the first sector was a little bit quicker than his previous best, but actually, hang about. Nope, the session's over with, so they were probably just doing some sighting laps on the way in, and now we can see the cars lining up on the grid, and we do have a full pace lap, which I think is quite needed around here, because getting the heat into the tyres is going to be crucial around here.
Well, I ticked a short lap, so I don't know what I've done, but these lot are going to absolutely hate me after this. So apologies to everybody that has to do a full pace lap. It means we can take our time with the grid, because recently, every broadcast I've done, everybody has been very, very quick to jump on the grid and catch me out, and I've not had time to do a full run through. I'm expecting messages in the Discord saying, why are you doing this to us, Chaz? We hate you, but that may be coming at the end of the race. Dan Macaulay has messaged Simon and I. We set up a group chat for Dan's BMX ventures a while ago, so me and Simon could laugh at him breaking his elbows, and Dan's just basically said, with some expletives, for crying out loud, Simon, give us a chance, which I'm sure a few others are probably thinking as well.
Funnily enough, I sent him that yesterday, actually, in the practice session as well, or words to that effect.
Love it. Well, that's the thing. He's a rapid boy, isn't he? He's our Simon.
He is. Certainly. He can't help it.
No. It's dead annoying. Not that he's in a Spontex car anyway. Makes me happy. Hey. Simon Povey takes pole position at Road Atlanta then with a 1:24.960. Lewis Ward will start alongside him. Those two fighting for the championship last season with Callum Brandt was pretty amazing, and now we've got the three of them on the front three positions here. Callum Brandt third alongside Dominic Brennan. He was a real star in the first race at Mid-Ohio. Let's see what he can do here. Dan Macaulay will be hoping to help out his teammate as well in the Spontex versus Apex battle near the front. Niles Kaur also in the BMW, looking very good in 6th place. Rob Sharp, on a welcome return to the championship, will be in 7th position alongside Christopher Smith in 8th. Another BMW right up there with Christian Saruta in 9th position. That's where Callum Brandt won the first round of the season from. Mike Horder rounds out your top 10 in the McLaren. Then we have Johnny Elia in 11th position with James Holman alongside him on row 6. Behind them is Guy Edwards and Josh Wiggins, the two RD Simsport teammates. One of them driving for RD Simsport 2, one for RD Simsport 3. Byron Crawford is next up for 11 Tenths Racing Team, ahead of Boosted Jericho's Ben Gregory in 16th. Paul Goffin and Pete Thickett are next up in 17th and 18th positions. We then have 19th Ryan Penny, 20th Blaine Sparling, and then Heinz Mayer, the first car outside the top 20, with Mark Johnson alongside him on row 11. Andrew Shepherd is 23rd, with Tom Weston in 24th, just taking his time to get used to the Mercedes. John Roberts in 25th and Martin Kenyon alongside him on row 13. Kim Such is 27th ahead of Fausto Pinto for Scallop Pro Driving. Ralph Mayer is in 29th place and Drew Fletcher rounds out your top 30. Rob Sutherland is 31st with Andrew Marston, the boss man, in 32nd place for SRM Racing Team A. And unfortunately, Waterside Gym E-Racing's Philip Hopley did not set a lap time during that session. I think Philip disconnected quite early on, actually, Ed. So I don't think we're going to see him out on track for this race tonight. But here we are then, with Simon Povey at the front of the pack, looking back with everybody behind him as he was at Mid-Ohio. It's certainly going to be a different kettle of fish tonight, though. There's a lot more slipstreaming opportunities here, a lot more to think about over the course of the race. I don't know what to think here. I think there's so many drivers within that top 10, as Callum Brandt proved to us last time, that could win this race. It could be anybody's.
Yeah, I mean, it could certainly be. I mean, it's all going to be going down, I think, into turn 1 with quite a lot of drama, I imagine. We've seen some messy starts around here, so I'm just hoping all the drivers are nice and careful on the opening lap and we don't have any funny business.
We'll have to wait and see who behaves themselves and who doesn't, as they all try and hold formation for this moment in time. Just have to wait now and see what these drivers can manage. There's bits of grass or something being kicked up. I think somebody was messing about there on the right side of the circuit. Jakub Szymanski saying the Scourer's livery colour reminds me of a hospital or toothpaste. It's very true, actually, but it's the teal branding that Spontex have on a lot of their products, so we've put little glints all over it and made it metallic, and the guys love it. Bless them. And I'm excited to see what Rob Sharp does in his first race this season, actually, Ed, in the Orris Racing Machine. But once again, mate, 3 words to describe this race. What's it like for us here at Road Atlanta?
It's going to be great.
There you go.
That's just what it's going to be. It's going to be great. And Simon Povey gets us underway very early on as they're coming down in towards turn 1. He has got the jump on the field and left them in his wake. Got Callum Brandt looking for a move up the inside of Lewis Ward into turn 1.
Oh no!
Slots in behind, and look at that carnage in the background. There's been a collision already going through before they've got across the line in towards turn 1.
Oh,
that is 6 cars, 5 cars, all with damage.
Yep, involved a Tom Weston, John Roberts, Andrew Shepherd, Fausto Pinto. Kim Such was in that as well. Kim Such has lost his rear wing. Don't know what on earth happened there. The first car I saw around was John Roberts in the black and green Mercedes. I'm not sure if he bounced off the side of somebody, lost it on the curb, but I think John Roberts may have been the spoiler in the pack there. Christian Saruta. No. Big off. Saruta's off in the middle of the road. Hopefully no one hits him. They're all dodging one way than the other. There's more cars off. Who was that? Ben Gregory, Byron Crawford off. Oh no, Byron's been smacked into by Martin Kenyon as well. Mark Johnson's involved on that one. Oh goodness me. All started with Christian Saruta going off on the exit of turn 5, I think, and then everyone trying to avoid him. It's not really opened much of the field up, to be fair, although actually no, there is a gap back from Heinz Mayer to Ralph Mayer, which is not something you see very often. But Simon Povey, Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt have held station. Dan McCauley's got ahead of Dominic Brennan in the opening exchange here, Ed. We'll stick with this for a little bit and then we'll come back to the chaos of lap 1 in a few moments.
Yeah, we just got to follow this as Dan McCauley needs to try and fend off the charging McLaren in behind, but that's going to be good for the team's championship for Apex Racing Academy. Dan McCauley's been able to get the jump on one of their main rivals for the championship. But Simon Povey, this is exactly the start he needs and exactly the sort of result that he'll need to get his championship charge back on track. After the disappointment at Mid-Ohio, he's gotten off to the best possible way to fight back and to come back from that unfortunate error. But now, here we go. James Holman, look at this, with a huge train of cars in behind him, up into 9th place. I think it was one of those drivers that did profit from all of the carnage on the opening lap.
Yeah, Josh Wiggins as well gained 4 positions in the opening encounter, so he is going to be really pleased with that. We've got a bunch of cars sat in the pit lane now as they get repairs and all sorts. Christian Saruta, though, definitely had a big moment out of turn 5, and then I think he just bounced off the wall. Let's see what we can find out about the incident further down the order then, because John Roberts was the car that went off. Watch the bright green rear-ended Mercedes there. There's a bit of a check up in front of him, and he has to back out of it, and then he hits the curb. Oh, it's Tom Weston loses the Mercedes, hits Goffin in the Porsche, and hits John, and then he hits the Scalant Pro driving car as well, of Fausto Pinto. So Tom Weston losing the back end of the car, goes across into the side of the pair of them, and that is a big accident. This is what happened to Christian Saruta in the Mercedes for Pilifi Racing. He told me what that means last week. It's actually not a word, Pilifi. It's meant to be a, what do you call it, an abbreviation. Oh, too much curb. And then, oh, Mike Horder just tags him. Mike Horder tags the rear end of the car. Horder goes sideways, gets away with it, you could say, and then, oh, there was more contact there, wasn't there? There was big contact with somebody. I think it was Mark Johnson.
Ben Gregory, didn't he get collected in all of that as well, I think?
Yeah, I'm going to just see whether we can go back and find... This is Ben Gregory. Oh, Byron loses it on his own. Oh, and Ben goes into the back of Byron Crawford as he's losing it. And then Byron rolls back across the road. Martin Kenyon's got nowhere to go. We've got Guy Edwards off at the moment as well. He's had a big drama somewhere on the circuit. He's off at turn 5. So clearly not an easy corner to get right at all. Let's see what happened here, Ed, and then we'll hopefully catch back up. Whoa, he's lost it on the way in.
Yeah, and it's that little curb on the way in. You can take it. Sometimes it upsets the car, sometimes not so much. But that was a very violent reaction to the car. Just compresses down and then all of a sudden bits him across the circuit. That was very strange. It's something that can happen if you're a little bit unsight. Maybe you take a bit too much of the curb. You're not exactly able to see your lines and your marks when all the cars are that close to one another. And that's seen him with a rather unfortunate mistake. But out in front, doesn't seem to be coming through for Simon Povey, but the slipstream is keeping Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt very much in this fight.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful fight, isn't it, at the front of the field? And this is what we get used to seeing in this championship, is a train of cars, all of them trying to outwit one another and try and out-fuel save each other. Niles Corr doing a great job in this BMW at the moment. We've got Rob Sharp and Christopher Smith not too far off the back of this either. But Niles Corr all over the back of these guys right now. 5 minutes already gone in this race. I can't believe that. Absolutely disgusting how quickly these races fly by. That's a 12th, well, yeah, a 12th of the race at least. But right now, we've got a big slipstreaming train, and the thing is, around this circuit, it's going to keep them all together as well, isn't it? Which is going to make it even more interesting for us, because it levels the playing field that little bit more, and hopefully for some of the Aston Martin drivers further down the order, it will do that as well, because the lead Aston Martin as we had up to now for this evening, Byron Crawford, was involved in that accident.
Yeah, I mean, the Aston Martins, I was trying to work it out, comparing my lap times to the likes of Simon's, and at least in comparisons from the Aston Martin to the McLaren, it's around about 4 to 5 kilometers an hour on average coming into the braking zone at the end of the long back straight. That's sort of the time that you're working with. Obviously, with tow, it might help you out a little bit more in the Aston Martin. Still, it is quite a considerable pace difference there. Could also be down to just corner exits. The Aston is a little bit sluggish in putting its power down in comparison to the McLaren, where it just seems to respond sometimes a bit too well to what you do to it. Hence the tendency of oversteer creeping in, which is what we saw catching out Simon Povey last time around. Here we go. Callum Brandt closing down and getting very, very eager behind Lewis. But I don't think eager enough to make the move. I think it's rather just saving fuel and managing the race, as Yardi Sportman has done time and time again, both in this season and in the season previous.
Yeah, I think he's got a fantastic talent for making it look like he's very eager, but really he is actually just trying to save fuel, and he's just trying to run a long race and make sure that he can outdo the drivers on strategy. We've got a little battle going on here between two of the Aston Martins and a McLaren. This is Rob Sutherland ahead of Drew Fletcher and Mark Johnson. Guy Edwards has just gone past Andrew Marston behind them as well on his recovery through the order after his moment down at turn 5. Hopefully he gets that figured out. Is Kim Such carrying on without a rear wing? He is. That's the low downforce spec of the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport MR thing, whatever its full name is. Interesting to see that.
I have no idea how he's able to keep that car under control going down through the S's. That must be absolutely awful to drive, but he's able to carry on and keep going. Maybe able to take it to the point where he only needs to have that one splash and dash taken care of early, and then obviously take the one final pit stop with a bit more fuel on board. Obviously, these cars are short fueled for the race, typically to take 2 pit stops, one full service, then one sort of splash and dash. But a lot of the drivers have been opting for a mega fuel saving drive and then coming into the pits only once. But I'm not sure if that's something that is really feasible around here, especially considering with the likes of Simon Povey putting in those quick lap times, it's going to be very difficult to keep on pace with him, even with that one less pit stop. Having a look though, just up and down the field at some of the battles. This is one of them. Mike Horder, right at the back of this train. Stan McCauley, what's gone on here? Is he just blinked out for a moment?
I hope it's just for a moment, but Dan McCauley, yeah, he's just come back in. Dan McCauley having a connection issue there by the look of it. So hopefully that's the last of that, because even Callum Brandt in front of him has been having those little blinks in and out, but his have been much, much shorter, so maybe he's passed it on. It's like a disease for Dan McCauley to catch that. It looks like he's got no gap either on the timing screen on the left-hand side. It's just updated now, actually, as he gets through the next sort of micro sector. Simon Povey continues to lead this race, though, from reigning champion Lewis Ward in the Spontex CDM Esports Scourers machine. Apex Racing Academy right behind, and then it's almost like a mirror, because Callum Brandt is the glass in the mirror, then he's got an Apex Racing Academy car behind him, and then a Spontex car as well. So when you look at it like this, or maybe like this, you can see there's the sort of top 5. It's just a complete mirror, isn't it? It's fantastic to see that. And then Niles Corr, just the big beefy BMW behind him, just watching on from a little distance at least. Well, there's not much distance there, actually, is there, Niles? That BMW, though, we know is good in a straight line, isn't it, Ed? So I think down here it's going to look pretty pokey. Let's see what he does.
I was so glad to see the BMW up here. Obviously, there have been rumours on iRacing about the new shaped BMW GT4 car being introduced, but to be fair, that can wait a little while longer because I'm really enjoying this. So it's quite a goofy looking car, to be fair. It just looks so out of place compared to all the others that are more like sports cars or something of that ilk, and then you've just got BMW.
Yeah.
It's just a Beamer.
It's like someone's whacked a wing on a touring car and stuck it in a GT race.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I mean, not that touring cars don't have wings anyway, you know what I mean. It's just a lot bigger. And again, BMW have had a talent for this over the years. Look at the M6 GT3, the M8 GTE, even the Z4, you know. The Z4 ended up being a massive car compared to a lot of other GT3 cars. It's just, BMW have this knack.
Incredibly wide, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was ridiculously
like a
wide.
pancake.
Yeah, it was. It was fantastic. Took up 2 grid slots. But Rob Sharp at the moment is hoping that his little skinny Porsche is a bit wider because he's got Christopher Smith all over the back of him. I mean, you say goofy, Ed. I don't think there's anything goofy about that because that thing is one of the most evil-looking race cars. I hate the front of the new M4s. I'm really sorry to anyone that likes them, but I'm not shallow-minded about it at all. I try and look past it, and I just can't. I really can't. James Holman can look past the BMW, though, as he goes down the inside of Christopher Smith, takes a little move up the inside, obviously on his teammate, so the two of them fighting together. You can see he's definitely got the wrong decal layer on. That's on me, sorry. But still, more battles going on further down here. Into Porsche battle, Ryan Penny and Blaine Sparling. Heinz Mayer not too far behind them in the Orris Racing green car. Gorgeous livery on this. And again, thank you to Heinz and his companies for sponsoring the championship this season. Got another sponsor not far behind as well, in the form of Drew Fletcher as Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Thank you very much to Drew for his continued support for the series and what we do. But wow, another busy race at the front of the field here, Ed, where it's all about a deadlock between 6 cars. Look, it's fantastic to watch this because it's a game of mind games, isn't it? A race of mind games, I should say, where these guys need to wait now, see who cracks first, see who makes a mistake, and then react to each other's fuel saving and each other's strategies. That's what I love about this series. It's not just a sprint without a pit stop. They have to do a lot more thinking than that.
Yeah, to use a commentator's cliche, it is like a 200 mile an hour just game of chess, isn't it, really? You can just see all of the drivers trying different things, both on the circuit but also off the circuit in the pit lane, different strategies, fuel saving it in, Niels Gore lifting off, not opting to take the move, not opting to take advantage of Dominic Brennan's poor run, and instead slotting in behind to save that little bit more fuel. The straight line speed is unquestionably with Niels Gore. That BMW is just a pocket rocket. It just goes in terms of the top end. Oh, well, depends which ones you got. If you got like cargo shorts, then they're like properly thick, but not today. I had some nice shorts, but for some reason, 0 pocket space. So irritating.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you on that. Clothes are only considered good if they've got pockets. But anyway.
It's horrible.
We'll go on.
Can't they just spare a bit more fabric for pockets?
It's very true.
Why is it that hard?
I mean, is there more or is there less? Because I don't know. But yeah, either way, we're inside the little pocket that is the Porsche right now. James Holman for RD Simsport chasing down Rob Sharp. And Rob at the moment, he's on decent pace. Highest placed Porsche in the field for now, because it looks like Holman wants to change that. But Rob's back to his best, you know. It's another under-the-radar performance, isn't it? He's not in that lead fight. He's not right on screen all the time, but he's still doing a great job. I mean, the car looks good down there. It's looking better than Dan McCauley is anyway, because Dan has had a big old off on the exit of Turn 5, or even on the way in by the look of it. Wow. Has he been hit?
Look at the tyre tracks. He might have had contact on the apex, or potentially just lost it on the way out. We'll have a look. There's no one near him, so I think it's just the car. Oh, just a little bit too much curb taken. In fact, actually, I think he dipped a couple of wheels onto the grass. And when you're trying to turn in that far over onto that curb, there's no chance of having the car to respond and do what you want. This is Brian Crawford just running a little bit wide in towards turn 3. Is this something that happened to Pete Thickett, or is this just seeing the incident?
Something has happened to Pete Thickett, but I think maybe just in these next couple of corners as he chases down Josh Wiggins in the Mercedes, puts his nose down the inside and unfortunately bounces off the side of him. He was a little bit late with the look down the inside, and I don't think Josh knew that he was going to get a complete overlap. But Dan McCauley now drops down to 12th position. Oh my goodness me! Massive accident for Christopher Smith. Jeez Louise, that was a massive hit into the wall, both times as well. And that could be as simple as just, again, putting 2 wheels on the grass there, Ed. That was a massive hit.
That was huge. I can see a little bit of dirt kicked up on the exit this corner, but we'll have a look here. Was it just contact?
Oh, it
Between
was.
the two oh, so it was just contact between the two of them. The slightest of touches, but the front end of the car just spears over to the right-hand side into the concrete, and then the track's fairly narrow actually on the start-finish line. So if you hit one barrier, chances are you're going to get spat across and finding yourself hitting the other. That's a big bit of damage. Hopefully he's been able to nurse it around into the pits, get it repaired, and get back up and running. But you can just see there.
Oh.
I'm not even sure if there was. It doesn't look like there's contact from that angle there. But I mean,
Yeah, it was just.
must have been for the car to react like that, and it's at that high speed. If you get contact and the car loses control, you've got no chance.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't think Rob can be to blame here if we look at it in slow motion. I mean, I don't think either of them are. It's just a racing incident. Rob's just going over the white lines, and Chris's car, I think he's just trying to not let it slide because he might have overdone it. You want to try not to overdo the steering through there because you will spin the car. I think he came off the lock a little bit, predicting a slide, and Rob obviously had to give it a little bit more right lock to make sure he stayed on the circuit and didn't hit the grass himself. So the two of them just trying to leave room and do what they could do. Unfortunately, a little tiny touch like that causes a big divide, and there's been a divide here in the top few positions because Niles Corr has got past Dominic Brennan, and all of this happening while Dan McCauley went off. I think he did it while... Yeah, it looks like he did it literally as Dan McCauley was off the road. Let's have a look here. Oh yeah, he just literally did it on the exit of the corner where Dan went off. He's going to have to do this round the outside, though. This will be a pretty amazing move by Niles Corr if he goes and does this. He's got Dominic squeezed to the inside, and lovely stuff. Great move by Niles Corr. Love a bit of that.
I think it's just within slipstream as well, so we'll be able to get a little closer to the front three that are battling away. Still, though, we will focus on the battle of Porsches. There's a good group of Porsches here, isn't it? All 4 of them together. A flock of Porsches. Is that the collective noun for a group of Porsches?
Not sure.
It's got horse on it. Is it like a herd?
Yeah, I'd say a herd. A herd of Porsches. I like that. But yeah, 4 of them nice and...
a herd of Porsches all together.
Nice and close in the wild here on the racing circuit. We've got Guy Edwards on his recovery through the field here. He's just trying to overtake Drew Fletcher, who's gained 13 places since this race started. Drew started down in 30th position, and he's up into 17th place. Now, you get points all the way down to 20th in this championship. We're not a charity. We give points only down to 20th position, so drivers have to really work for their points, and it's a lovely incentive, really, because it's great to see when they do make it work. Guy Edwards with a great move. Lets Drew go a little bit deep into the chicane, and he's done him on the exit. Is he going to have enough of a run, though? Mark Johnson's going to have a front row seat, and then Ralph Mayer's going to be in the second row, throwing popcorn at him. As Drew runs a little bit wide on the exit, and he tries to block Mark Johnson here. He can only go one way, not both. And then Mark has to back out of it.
That's a beautiful move there by Guy Edwards. That's got to be contender for move of the race. Another thing that we've added this season, of course, is that drivers do get a prize for move of the race. It doesn't necessarily need to be an overtake. It can be anything that we or they do in the race that they deem worthy of raising to. Is it Heinz and Ralph Meyer, I think,
yes,
that are in charge of that one?
It is, yes. And it was actually a bit of defensive driving that won the award for Mid-Ohio, and it was by Pete Thickett, actually, for his defensive driving when he was against, I think it was Niles Corr or Christian Saruta. He was just defending so well in the early stages of the race, was Pete, and he got the award for that. That's actually his teammate there, Blaine Sparling, and Blaine painted both of these cars, so you get to see their gorgeous liveries together on track. Certainly got a great eye for design and very contrasty designs has Blaine. He lets him through, the American letting through the Brit as Pete Thickett goes ahead. But as we go right to the front of the field, Simon Povey's just on the fastest lap of the race. You know what that means, don't you, Ed? We're not daft, are we? It means that Povey surely is going to either pit in this lap or the next one.
No, I just think he's got the pace and he's going to keep going. I just think that's what he's going to be doing. This is his stomping ground. This is a circuit that he's been so strong on in previous rounds of this championship. It's just so difficult to get the better of him around here. You can just see his lines. They look the same every single time around. He's so consistent as Fausto Pinto. Oh, dearie me. That's, as soon as we talk of some inconsistencies, we see a little bit of an error creeping through for the Portuguese driver, who allows the rest of the field to go past. But like I say, Simon Povey, Lewis Ward up there. But Callum Brandt, he's pushing hard as well. Purple sectors galore on this lap, so he's going to be on a charge as well, and he might be coming into the pit soon.
Dominic Brennan now with not much visibility, it's safe to say, with the BMW of Niles Corr in front of him. No pit stops this time round by the look of it. So right now, these two are losing that top trio, aren't they? And Dominic Brennan's not in a situation he'll be used to, really, as into the pits goes Josh Wiggins. That's a very early stop by Josh, but he wants to make sure he's not in a fight, because that's the thing, isn't it, Ed? Part of the strategy in a race like this is realising when you're in a fight with a car and when you're potentially losing time, braking earlier, braking later, trying to go side by side with people, losing speed mid-corner. You have to just know when to pick your fights and when it's better to pit and get out of that situation, and Josh Wiggins has done just that, I'd say.
Yeah, you've got to have the awareness of the bigger picture of the race that you'll find yourself in at the end, not the race that you find yourself in, say, 20 minutes gone in the race with about 40 to go. You've got to always just think about what's around the corner, not what you're into at the moment. And I think that's, like you say, great awareness by Josh Wiggins to come into the pits, get the car serviced, and then just focus on hitting his marks, getting those lap times pumped through, and hopefully find himself with some good points come the end of the day. Simon Povey still pushing hard. Previous fastest lap, though, was going the way of Callum Brandt with a 25.09. Simon Povey and Lewis Ward, last time I did essentially identical lap times, which just shows how closely matched these two championship protagonists are, and what a season we are in for. We're only sort of one and a bit rounds into the season, but already you can tell it's going to be an all-time classic just from how closely matched all of the front runners are.
And don't forget, these were the three guys that finished first, second and third last season as well. Lewis Ward beating Callum Brandt, finishing just ahead of Simon Povey. Now that stinks of a slowdown for me, for Callum Brandt. He was a long way over the curb there, but seems to have gotten away with it for now. But it's great to see yet again these three going at it for another season. And they have company as well, you know. I mean, Dominic Brennan's no slouch. Niles Corr's been fantastic so far in that BMW. We've got Dan McCauley that's usually up there with them. Mike Horder as well. He's been a bit under the radar for this round. Mike was very, very quick at the first round of the championship at Mid-Ohio, but he's fallen, a bit by the wayside to say the least. He's overdone it a little bit there as well. I was just about to say Paul Goffin's going well, but it wasn't Paul behind him actually there. Who was that in the other Porsche? It was Andrew Shepherd, which is good to see back on the circuit once again in car number 76. He's down in 27th at the moment, but he's going to be just plugging on and seeing whether he can pick up some points due to others' misfortune, because, like I say, top 20 score points here, and you have to survive these races to score said points. We've only got 3 cars out of the race at the moment. Martin Kenyon, Christian Saruta and Philip Hopley didn't start the race, did he, actually? So he's not in this one at the moment. So technically 2 cars out of the race that started. Povey into the pits. That was Rob Sutherland just a moment there. He's gained 13 places in this race. But Simon Povey is into the pit lane. We'll see him make his way down now as the frame rate struggles. Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt go around turn 1. Niles Corr's in. Dominic Brennan, James Holman, Rob Sharp, Johnny Elia and Mike Horder. So loads of cars making their way into the pit lane now to make their first stops of the race. And Simon Povey is surely going to be the first of them to leave. We'll just see on the left-hand side who's had pit stops. He's taking tyres, Ed.
Yeah, some of the drivers are. I mean, the fronts do get absolutely butchered around this track. Coming through the first couple of sectors, it's just all scrubbing the tyres up and down. It's a nightmare to manage, and I think they're going to be obviously taking the front tyres, probably not anything else. Simon Povey gets the car back down off the jacks, and off he goes.
Off he goes indeed, Jesus.
Absolutely rapid, isn't he, on the way out? The car just picks up and goes. But now you'll start to wonder what are Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt going to be doing, because even though Lewis Ward was in behind Simon Povey, he was actually losing a little bit of time to him. That previous lap time, or the in-lap rather, I noticed the gap, it sort of grew from about 0.4 of a second to nearly 7.5 tenths of a second as he made his way down that back straight. So he was really putting a charge on to come into the pits, and that's the response. Callum Brandt and Lewis Ward both into the pits. Has Callum Brandt actually managed to somehow overtake Lewis Ward in the pit lane?
He's not ahead, but no, it's
no.
Tom Weston that's next to him there. Tom Weston coming in at the last moment, and I'm wondering whether Lewis lost a bit of time there, being behind Tom on the way into the pits, whether Tom just had a bit more of a safe entrance. Two of them stop at identical times. Lewis's car goes up on the jacks, but Callum's does not. That's very intriguing. Now, you can almost get away with a full tyre change here, can't you, Ed, without losing too much when it comes to the fuel?
I think you can only do 2. I think you can only do the fronts. When you get to doing that third tyre, it becomes just a little bit too long. But look at this. Actually, that was a short stop by Callum Brown.
Yeah, very.
So let's have a look here. That was probably the reason why he didn't take tyres, because he had a shorter stop to get out now into the lead of the race. There's Simon Povey. Callum Brown has got nearly 2 seconds ahead of everybody else. So is he doing shorter pit stops and trying to use that to his advantage potentially? We're going to see if he's able to pull away from Simon Povey now that he's got clear air. But this could be very interesting. He's going to have the heat in the tyres already.
Yeah. We
do know the Mercedes is a lot kinder to the rubber than the McLaren. Over the course of the race, the lap times stay strong for the Mercedes, whereas with the McLaren, they do start to wane just a touch. Oh, this could be very exciting.
Could indeed. Callum Brandt then leads the race by 2 seconds over Simon Povey and Lewis Ward, who is under pressure now from Niles Corr in the BMW. Niles is having a great race so far, up into 4th position, started 6th. James Holman's going well as well. He started 12th and he's up into 6th, and he's had a pit stop as well.
Look at the time, actually, that Lewis Ward has lost to Simon Povey in the pits.
Crazy, isn't it? It's 4.8 seconds that he's lost. He was in the pits for 2 seconds more than Simon. So it's not that bad, but yeah, he's lost overall quite a lot, and his overall pit lane time was about 3 seconds longer as well. So I honestly do think that he might have lost a bit of time on the way in there with lap traffic in front of him. That can make a big, big difference. But Callum Brandt, well, he's played a blinder here already. We've seen him do this before with RD Simsport and their team. So
Simon's already closing down though, already getting that pace up. It was 2 seconds, now it's 1.6.
Yeah, he's not mucking about. It's Simon Povey. He's absolutely on it. And behind, Lewis Ward's still under pressure from Niles Corr. I'm excited to see what Niles can do here. I was also going to pick up on the fact that Josh Wiggins did pit before Mike Horder to try and jump him in the pits. But as you can see very clearly by this thing in front of him, it's not worked at the moment. And Johnny Elia is still in front of the pair of them as well. So a nice little battle going on between those guys there. John Roberts is back in the pit lane. He was in for 6 seconds last time. Actually, he had damage at the start, so he's a little bit out of sync, isn't he? He's a couple of laps out of sync with the rest of the field. Mark Johnson and Ralph Mayer are close together on track right now. I think Mark has just got past Ralph and is moving away slightly. Actually, no, Ralph's catching up a little bit here. Last laps, Ralph's actually just done his best lap of the race and closed in on Mark by about 1/10 of a second as well. So my apologies, Ralph, for getting that one wrong, although he's gone a bit deep into turn 1. Cracking back on with it. Ben Gregory's in the pits, Byron Crawford as well.
Ralph Meyer and Heinz Meyer aren't on the same bit of track together. There's actually a couple of cars in between them for once, Chaz. This is
it's a miracle.
Turn up for the books, isn't it? And Heinz Meyer at the moment for Orris Racing Green. They're doing a very good job there, up inside top 10. In fact, both of the Meyers are.
His teammates just had a drama, I'm afraid, as Kim's just stopped to get out of the way of traffic there. He didn't quite know what to do as they got down to the chicane, and he's put the car off the road. He's certainly committed to the cause there, is Kim Such. The lead battle now, as Callum Brandt goes past John Roberts through the S's. I think he got held up a little bit there. The gap is now down to about a second. Simon's having to back out on the way into turn 5. Make sure he doesn't run into the back of John. John moves over to the left-hand side. Simon flies through. The gap went down to about 0.8 of a second, then back up to 1.1 again there. So the traffic is even affecting this battle in the minute ways that it can, but you can see from the body language of the car now that Simon Povey is pushing. He's got 5 seconds over Lewis Ward and Niles Corr, though. It's massive now, that gap.
Yeah, but looking at the lap times and the time spent in the pit lane, Simon Povey had a longer pit stop this time, so surely he'll have a shorter pit stop than Callum Brandt next time. So it looks like it's still going to be Simon Povey's race, but again, who knows what RD Simsport are cooking up. That's the thing. We think that they've made a mistake and are not going to have any chance of winning, and then they just do something that proves us both wrong, and it's great just to see. But you can't help but think that it's going to be a tricky job for Callum to keep Simon Povey from that top step of the podium.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you never know what RD Simsport are going to pull out of the bag. Exactly right there, Ed. I tell you what, it's could be a 9-stopper. You never know with them lot. They could just throw more pit stops at us and somehow still crack on.
I relish the day when we see the no stop come through from RT Sim Sport.
No.
They have a hybrid in there. They just sneak a little hybrid in there or something. I don't know.
Well, you never know, mate. You never know, do you?
I don't think we will, but you can only dream. No, I think there's only going to be the one stops coming through, but I don't think we'll be seeing that here tonight, as we've only just now crept over the halfway mark. Obviously, the extra long lap behind the pace car at the start of the race has obviously taken some of the drivers' fuel calculations out of sync, potentially, because they have to spend all of that time burning the fuel that they aren't really then factoring into their race runs. Here we go, though. Mike Horder for Boosted Jericho, closing down on Johnny Elia, the 11th Racing Team. That's a very nice looking car, to be fair, that Mercedes, isn't it, Chaz?
Oh, yeah.
But at the moment, it's going to have its work cut out for it, because Mike Horder, he's on a bit of a charge, and that McLaren is going quite nicely at the moment for Boosted Jericho.
Well, this gorgeous livery you see on the 11th Racing Team car is actually a real-life livery as well on the car that they race in the Enduro KA series here in the UK. There's a bunch of the guys who've got together to actually go racing for real this year, Johnny included, and we love the fact that they are doing it and wish them all the best for their season. It's a great, great championship with a lot of camaraderie and some fantastic racing as well. Johnny Elia certainly knows how to manage his traffic, though, as he's having a go right now at flashing the lights for the car in front. Dan McCauley is not the car that I was aiming to look at there, actually. I think it was Ben Gregory. He's flashing Josh Wiggins, I don't think he was flashing Josh Wiggins, but he was moving around behind him to say, I'm here, sunshine. I'm maybe a bit quicker than you. Can you let me through, please?
They're listening to the broadcast. I think that might be what they're doing as well, flashing the lights to say hello. We're on the broadcast, but no, there's also slow cars going down through the S's and all. That's a big wiggly moment there. Wow.
Josh Wigglins, that's his new name.
Oh, I love it. But how did Josh keep it under control there? That was madness.
That was bonkers. That was absolutely bonkers by Josh Wiggins. Josh Wigglins is definitely his new nickname. Oh my God. So who's that? Is that Fausto Pinto? So he's gone wide anyway. Hits the grass one way, then the other, then the other. It doesn't look that dramatic from on board. It really looks tame from on board. Let's have a look again. No, wrong car, Chaz. Josh Wiggins with what looks on the outside like save of the century. Goes deep. Oh my good Lord. I mean, Ben Gregory cut it fine with Fausto Pinto as well just behind that. Ben's clearly trying to be on a mission to get ahead here and unlap himself, but it's not working at this moment in time. Yeah, Josh Wiggins, well, there's one for a moment in the race. Stays inside the top 10. We go to his teammate, though, at the front of the entire pack, and we see that now Callum Brandt has got Simon Povey right up his exhaust now. Half a second between the two into the second half of the race. Johnny Elia and Mike Horder are actually finally swapping places as Mike goes through in the McLaren. But this lead battle is on now, isn't it, Ed? Once more, Simon is going to get into the slipstreaming range of that Mercedes. And, well, not if Callum does that. If he disappears, there's nothing to slipstream. But still, it's going to be a great battle this once Simon starts to get closer and closer. So long as he can keep it tidy in the windy bits, because it's difficult to get this circuit nailed every time with all the commitment that's required of you in that first sector.
Yeah, these cars are affected a little bit by the dirty air. The aero wash is something that these cars have the tendency to get a little bit unsettled by, especially those high-speed corners that we have, where the cars are right on the edge anyway. Those can be scary times for a driver who's following a car this closely. Simon Povey seems to be able to manage that just about all right. He has set the fastest lap of the race so far, just on the last time around as well. One at 24.96. So he's got a lot of pace behind him, but that last lap just dropping back a touch from Callum Brandt. I think this is where we see a bit more race management coming through from Simon Povey. He's now well within the slipstream. Doesn't need to push as hard because he's banking on having a shorter pit stop than Callum Brandt. But will it be the case? Or has Callum been able to save enough fuel in this stint? Expecting the cars to come in with around about 10 to 15 minutes to go in the race, would you imagine, Chaz?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say anywhere between sort of maybe even some of them coming in with 20 minutes to go to try and have a sort of shorter run, let's say.
Oh, what's happening? Mike Horder dropping back down through the order.
Order down the order and into... What's he, into the wall? Let's have a look. Oh.
It's just a turn. Oh, the car. I think it's again just the compression of the car at the rear end. It grips up and again sends it into a spin there. Very tricky to get a hold of once you get a spin going. Mocks it up.
Johnny.
Looks onto the brakes. Johnny Ely is cutting that very fine, but took a brave pill and carried on going.
Just looking here, though, at Lewis Ward and Niles Corr continuing to fight. Those two very, very close together right now. And Niles Corr has filled...
I apologise as well, actually, Chaz, if I can, quickly to Mike Horder, because I did praise him and then immediately something about
For God's sake. Ed has the most powerful commentator's curse I've ever experienced, everybody. There are people out there that say it doesn't exist, but those people are just looking for attention. And honestly, it is amazing how suddenly Ed's commentator's curse strikes.
I had one even before the race started.
Yes, he put a message in the chat in iRacing to say, let's have a clean race, everyone enjoy yourselves, and then, yeah, big accident. So, thanks, Ed.
Yeah, I was saying play nice, everybody. Please don't, fight too hard on the opening lap. And then, even before we get through the opening lap, before it even begins, in fact, for some of the drivers, their races are already over. So, me and my big mouth.
Christopher Smith is not going to be enjoying himself right now. He was in the pits earlier after that big damage, and he's recovered actually into 22nd place. The two cars in front of him, one being his team manager Rob Sutherland, are both for position. So if he does overtake both of these guys, he'll get at least one championship point for his troubles, which would be, I'd say, worth it after the colossal accident he's had, because let's face it, in the real world you wouldn't get a chance to go back out there with the way that that car was banged about off both of the pit walls. Or the start-finish straight walls, I should say. Andrew Shepherd attacking Rob Sutherland there, but he's put himself in a bit of a, well, jeopardised scenario as now Christopher Smith takes advantage. Lovely move that by Chris, great opportunism. And now I can bet you that Rob Sutherland's not going to make life too difficult for him, as there's a Porsche on Porsche battle going up. No, there isn't, because Paul Goffin has tricked me this season. He's not in the Porsche anymore, is he? Actually, I don't even think he was in the Porsche last season, was he?
I think he was in the McLaren last season.
Yeah,
from
he was.
memory. I think maybe the Porsche last season was only Jacob Money and Rob Sharp.
Yes,
I believe.
Paul,
It was only those two of them.
Paul was in a Porsche in season 1, I believe. Just like that one behind these guys.
I mean, like everyone was in season 1, because I think a lot of them were running from the former Porsche Club of Great Britain, weren't they? A lot of these drivers for SRM all sort of came together from there, and a lot of them do still own Porsches in real life, so of course a lot of them favoured the Porsche, as well as the fact that it was the car to be in the opening season before the Aston Martin came along and upset the apple cart, and then McLaren. I think the McLaren's still been sneakily going strong, and I think it's one that's been, I guess, forgotten about until now. As oh dear, what's going on with Drew Fletcher? Has he just decided to call it a day?
Not quite sure here, actually. Is it out of fuel?
Could be,
What on earth has happened there to Drew Fletcher? He's jumped back to the pits, so hopefully everything's alright. When we do often see stuff like that, sometimes it can be things outside of the sim. Obviously, real life takes priority, so hopefully everything's alright with Drew. One of the championship sponsors as well of Derbyshire Holiday Homes, for which we are very, very grateful indeed. And I know what Callum Brandt's not going to be grateful for, and that's the pace of Simon Povey, because he's right back with him again now. 22 minutes left on the clock here at Road Atlanta in round 2.
Importantly,
go on.
Their pace is faster than Lewis Ward. That gap has been growing all the while. It's just been the two of them out in front. What was it, 6 seconds, 5 seconds when they came out the pits? Something like that we were talking about. Now all of a sudden, look at the gap. 8 seconds from Lewis Ward to Simon Povey and Callum Brandt. That is a big, big margin to try and overcome. And I can't imagine it being anyone else but Callum Brandt or Simon Povey to fight up until the end of the race now. As here we go, Dominic Brennan diving up the inside of, I think that was Andy Marston,
the boss man.
Boss man himself. Not far away from the points actually is boss man Andy Marston. Just got Aaron Shepherd, Rob Sutherland and Christopher Smith to get ahead of, and obviously, like you say, Chaz, these races are all about surviving, and he's doing just a good job enough of doing that right now. But here we go, how are these two going to survive this battle? Because Lewis Ward and Niels Corr battling away, in the straight line speed of the BMW is, I think, just a little bit too much for Lewis Ward to keep up with. Just in towards the chicane, there's no real chance to fight back.
And Dominic Brennan is now part of this as well, so it's going to get even more difficult for all three of them. Drew Fletcher's put in the YouTube chat that his gears stopped shifting, so a technical issue with the wheel, unfortunately. So I was going to say, it did seem stuck in 4th gear. Usually when you do see a driver come to a stop, they will at least go down the gears as a just sort of a natural reaction. when they do that. So really sorry to see it, Drew. But thank you for still popping in and witnessing the broadcast and the fibre. Callum Brandt, though, still leading the way by, well, it's actually gone up now to 0.8 of a second. He's got a lot of his teammates around him. Look, Rob Sutherland was in there as well. I'm not going to say that there was any foul play and those guys slowing Povey down, but I tell you what, I think if I was a team manager or even just a teammate of somebody, I think I'd give it a go. But seeing as he's done it against the Spontex car, I could just take all their points off them if I want to, so, you know, it's absolutely fine. You know what, you all know I'm joking. But still, here's an interesting moment for this race, actually, because Dominic Brennan, is he going to have a go here at Lewis Ward and try and do something in the slipstream, or is he just going to sit behind? I think it's going to be the latter, but Dominic is one of those guys that likes to surprise us here, Ed. Let's have a look.
Well, have a look. Is he going to try and surprise not just us, but Lewis Ward with a late dive up the inside in towards the chicane? I think Lewis Ward is wise to it if there is a move coming. But I don't think there is. He's too far back to properly send it. So he'll slot in behind for the moment. And I think just allow Lewis Ward some breathing space to catch back up to Neil Scott, because this is a battle for podium places. Actually, hang about. Lewis Ward coming into the pits early, doesn't want to be any part of this battle whatsoever. I think he realises that Dominic Brennan could start to battle with Niels Core. If those two slow each other down before the pit stops, that will have a big, big benefit to him in his race and his chance of getting onto that podium.
It definitely will. We've got a battle brewing here as well, as John Roberts has very quickly caught up to the back of Andy Marston to try and deny him at least a championship point in these late stages of the race. John obviously out before turn 1 into the wall, and he has managed to get the car repaired and get back out there. I think that boosted livery on that car looks absolutely stunning. It's their new 2023 livery as well. They've always had different forms of camouflage on the cars, and it's like this sort of liquid, almost like forged carbon pattern for this season. Forged carbon does come in this sort of liquidized pattern at the moment. It looks amazing on Lamborghini. I think it's the Huracan Performantes with certain trim packages on them. It's just, I could lick it.
Beautiful.
It's insane. But John Roberts certainly repping the livery well at the moment. He's all over the back of Andy Marston, finds a gap to the left-hand side. Is there an overlap? Well, there is now, and Andy gives him the room. But we need to go back to the front, because look at this. This gap is absolutely decimated now. Will Callum come into the pits this time round to not give Simon the slipstream? No, they're both going to carry on as long as they can.
Simon had a little look, didn't he? He had a little look to the inside to go to the pits just for a moment. I think that might have been to try and maybe throw Callum Brown off and force him to go into the pits. But think about it, he's kept on going as the pits comes Andrew Shepherd.
Did Andrew Shepherd just hit the wall on the way into the pits? I heard a noise like someone had hit a wall. No. Not sure. Not sure what that was, sorry. Someone else
okay for the moment.
Someone else just hit the wall, definitely. I definitely heard the noise then. Not sure what that was. Oh, Brandt's run wide there through turn 5. Is he overdoing it? And will Simon Povey take advantage? Jakub Szymanski asking for details on the special event. Go away! Callum Brandt, though, is now going to be really under pressure. We're not sure about this special event. I'm really sorry, because I've been very busy with things, and yeah. There's a special event planned for the 20th of June. By planned, I mean we might do one and we still don't know, and it's a week away. So we'll have to see. It's just going to be a bit of fun if we do it. Ed and I are organising it, so it's probably not going to happen. Still.
Well, if we are planning on it, we'll announce it later today, I think.
Yeah, we'll do it after tonight's broadcast.
Plan for it. We'll do it after the broadcast, and maybe even announce it. Actually, no, it might be a bit too late if we announce it on the
on the day.
On the Formula 1 stream, we might announce it, or it might already be out by then. Who knows? You'll find out at some point.
Right then, Brandt comes into the pits. Simon Povey continues on and takes the lead of the race. And this is certainly the moment where Simon needs to show us the pace right now as Callum Brandt comes down the pit lane. What's his pit stop going to be like? Because like you rightly mentioned, Ed, 18.3 seconds last time round to Simon Povey's 22.9. Will Simon have a shorter stop? I think it's guaranteed that he will, but by how much? And what will the lead look like after this? If
Callum Brandt is stay behind by about 2 seconds, there's still scope for him to get back into this race through the corners. That Mercedes is looking very quick. Even though Simon Povey's got fresher rubber on board, it's still looking likely that Mercedes is the quicker car. Now, that was a 17-second stop for Callum Brandt. Again, no tyres being taken. Lewis Ward behind him. What's the gap there? Still around about 7 seconds. So while Lewis Ward has gained a touch, it's not a whole lot, you know. So it's still game on for the lead of the race, but I think the focus will be on Simon Povey when he comes out of this chicane, and if he is going to be coming into the pits or not. He'll score on Dominic Brennan. Again, Dominic Brennan's in the slipstream, but while he's gaining little bits here and there, it's still not enough to keep up with the BMW.
Yeah, it's really not, is it? That BMW has got such good prod in a straight line. Unfortunately,
Simon's in.
Pete Thickett's into the wall. Simon's in the pits. Pete Thickett's in the trees. Well, he's in. No,
he's in the thick of it.
Don't they call it the thickets when someone goes in the tree?
Thicket? Well, thickets were like bushes and shrubs.
Yeah, well, he's off in the thickets, isn't he? He was behind.
I guess.
I'm literally.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, thicket in the thickets.
Thicket is a thick is usually a small patch of shrubbery, small trees or underbrush. So yeah, Pete's off in the thickets. There you go. Flipping it. We'll get there eventually. We're scrubbing the bottom of the barrel here. Sorry, everyone. Niles Core has carried on. So too has Dominic Brennan. But where is Simon Povey going to come out? What's his pit stop going to be like? Because Callum Brandt was in for 17.6 seconds. Simon's in for 18. So Callum Brandt is going to go through.
Callum's already going through.
Callum's gone by already, and he's taken the lead of the race back. And even Christopher Smith is in the middle of the two of them as well. He's a lap down, granted, but wow. Callum Brandt has opened the lead up again. He's a wonderful boy.
This is, amazing by Callum Brandt. You'd think that he's not got it in him, but suddenly every time he keeps proving us wrong. We need to start taking this man more seriously.
Certainly
oh my word, this is a great drive by Callum Brandt, who's in the lead of the race and with a little bit of a margin to spare as well, around about 1.4 seconds to Simon Povey, but potentially, his teammate's not obviously going to be too much of an issue, you would imagine. I can't see Chris Smith deliberately getting in Simon's way, but he's not going to make it easy for him.
No, not at all. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the BMW is so fast in a straight line. It's got his slipstream as well. It might actually help Simon and drag him forward. James Holman's carried on to take the lead of this race in the Porsche from 12th on the grid. Hats off to James. He's actually a Legends racer in the real world outside of the sim, and he's a very, very fast boy as well, I've been told. So it's great to see him taking on another tiny car in the form of the Porsche Cayman. And with yours truly doing a lot of reporting and driver interviews for Legends Racing this year, I can tell you that it's a fantastic sport. I've really gotten into the thick of it. It's not something I've paid too much attention to before. Honestly, I've fallen in love with it, much like I did with truck racing when I got thrown at that as well. It is awesome, awesome fun, is Legends Racing. They are some of the most bonkers drivers you'll ever meet because they just bump draft each other everywhere, and it's hilarious fun to watch. I'm actually going to Brands Hatch this coming weekend to cover the American Speed Fest, where the Legends are racing as well. Oh my goodness me, Callum Brandt almost ended up at Brands Hatch there. He hit that curb that hard. He's pushing, but I think Simon's pushing harder, Ed. We've only got 12 and a half minutes left to go here, and I'm starting to claw at my desk. This is getting exciting.
Here we go. If Simon gets close enough to Callum Brandt to get in the slipstream, it could go down to the final lap, and all about the all-important run from that corner onto the back straight. It's so tricky to get right. One little mistake could be the difference between winning and losing here for those top two. James Holman comes into the pits now. So you'll imagine Callum Brandt will be able to take back the race lead, as will Simon Povey, second place. It's still a great drive from the RD Sim Sport man there in the Porsche Cayman. Look at this, 3 abreast all the way down the back straight. This is great stuff. It's going to be between Andrew Shepherd all the way around the outside. And who's that sliding through the middle? That's Byron Crawford. Is he going to be able to get both of them in one move? Kim Such around the outside. He needs to be careful to not get collected in all of this. Oh, they come close. They squeeze one another. Look at this all the way around the outside. Has the Aston Martin got the grunt out of the corner? Yes, he has. Great move there by Andrew Shepherd there.
Lovely stuff, that. A blinder by Byron Crawford, you could say. As here comes James Holman. He's going to be out with Dominic Brennan here. James Holman's pulled a blinder as well, actually, throughout this race. We said he was fast. We knew he was very fast at the Road America 400. Started 12th on the grid. He's up to 6th place on merit right now. Heinz Mayer, by the way, with one pit stop still to go, has made his way just outside the top 10. He's having a good run. Ralph Mayer has also got 10 places gained in his race. He's made 2 stops. Rob Sutherland's gained 11 to get inside the top 20 and a point-scoring position. So there's lots of drivers having a good run here. But yeah, James Holman going brilliantly up into 6th position behind this man, Dominic Brennan, who again, doing very well. One of my drives of the race, though, is Niles Core, because this BMW has been a real treat once again at the start of this season, hasn't it? And wait till we get to Daytona next time out. We saw what Fausto Pinto did a few seasons ago.
Oh, that would be amazing. I cannot wait to see Niels Core going out there. I mean, the same actually for Mercedes. That's got a decent bit of grunt to it as well. So Callum Brandt, he could be one to try and make it 3 wins on the bounce. Should he, of course, win here tonight. That needs to happen first before we can ever think about 3 wins on the trot. He needs to win here tonight. And look at that man that's going to be trying to stop him, Simon Povey. Clear air between the two of them. Slipstreams galore up until the end of the race for the final 10 minutes. This is going to go down right until the final lap and probably even the final one, because these two so evenly matched. We haven't really had a chance to see them properly battling though, have we, Chaz? It's always tended to be either Callum Brandt battling with Lewis Ward or Simon Povey battling with Lewis Ward. It's never really been Brandt versus Povey, well, up until tonight.
Well, that's it, and the times when we've had them together as well. Simon flipping out, they can't turn in when the wheels are off the ground. But the main battles we've had between these guys have always been when they've just been nose to tail fuel saving from one another in the races as well. It's never been at the end of the race where it's just all gung-ho. We've had some fantastic fights with Callum Brandt and Lewis Ward before, where we've had some wonderful side-by-side racing. But yeah, never, ever like this at the end of a race. So I'm very excited to see what the next few laps hold for us. James Holman as well could still hold up the wonderful little bit of pride for these Porsches right now. He's ahead of Rob Sharp, who again, Rob's just having a really lonely race here. 12 seconds ahead to Holman and then 7.5 seconds back to Josh Wiggins, but he's on for some big championship points. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Rob can do for the rest of the season. We've got Simon Price in the chat, says late to the race, but the stream looks incredible, Chaz. Formula Boys will look sexy AF tomorrow, and yes, they will, mate. Yes, they will. As Kim Such has had a drama, I'm afraid, and jumped back to the pit lane. Kim Such having a moment. Oh, through turn 3. Has a spin. And I think that was just the end of his race. I think one spin too many for Kim, and he's got a bit fed up, which is understandable when you do keep making mistakes, Ed. It's hard to pick yourself back up and carry on, isn't it? When, especially if you've had a fewer dramas over the course of the night.
Yeah, he was involved in that unfortunate, well, lap 0 incident, wasn't it, before they even got to the line, when he was collected and lost his rear wing, soldiered on for a good period of time, even with the battered and bruised car. But yeah, I think it has sadly been just one error, one crash too many for Kim Such there. But it is, like you say, very, very understandable. Callum Brandt continues to lead Simon Povey by 1.4 seconds. But Lewis Ward, he's under a lot of pressure here, because you can just imagine that Niels Core with the slipstream will be right up there with him. He's got a Porsche there for company. He's just going to navigate around. That is Ralph Meyer getting out of the way in the Orris Racing purple car. We could be seeing late dramas and side-by-side finishes, not just for the lead of the race, but also potentially for the podium.
Yeah, Apex Racing Academy have Lewis Ward right up there. Dan McCauley has recovered to 9th place, so he's still in for a top 10 finish. But don't forget, it was he and Simon that both spun at Mid-Ohio as well, so Dan will be really frustrated with that mistake. Still, like I say, on for good points. Mike Horder is in 10th behind him, and Mike is a good 10 seconds back as well. We've got a battle here between Andy Marston and Mark Johnson. What on earth was going on there, boys? Oh no, I've only just realised, yeah. Johnny Elia. Where did Johnny Elia go?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, I realised it was him that had just posted in the YouTube chat. Johnny's disappeared. His internet cut out. Or he believes, yeah, it has cut out. Oh, Johnny.
Right.
And now Byron Crawford's into the pits again as well. This is his 3rd pit stop of the race. Obviously, he had damage earlier, actually, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Carried away a little bit with everything that's been going on. Yeah. Like this is going on at the moment.
Johnny.
We didn't actually notice you, Johnny. Sorry about that. But
we do love you,
look
mate.
at this. Tom Brennan having to drive like his life depends on it there to keep James Holman at bay. And this is going to be a great result for RD Simmersport if they can get ahead, because for the Teams Championship, they will be scoring more points than Spontex CDM Esports Scourers, and that is going to be pivotal for the championship. This is going to be a great move if he can pull it off. Look at this, diving to the inside on the brakes. The Porsche is so good at getting it stopped and turning in, but has the McLaren just got that little bit extra grunt out of the corner? They do bang doors as they come out of the corner, and I think muscling his way through. Fair enough. Dominic Brennan is entitled to some space in the corner and took all that he needed to get up ahead. Look at that sketch of the exit, wasn't it? There, he's pushing very hard, and James Holman is looking, I think, now to force the McLaren into a mistake.
This is fantastic to watch. Lovely stuff by James Holman and Dominic Brennan. James having a great race so far. He's the, I was going to say highest mover in the top 10, but it's actually tied with his teammate Josh Wiggins, who's gone from 14th on the grid up into 8th place. So more great driving by RD Sim Sport. We've got Guy Edwards chasing down Paul Goffin as well. They've certainly come to make a mark on this championship of RD Sim Sport with 6 drivers so far this season. I say so far because I think there's more of them signed up ready to come in as reserves if they need to. Callum Brandt's done a purple sector 2, by the way, Ed. He's now 1.4 seconds ahead of Povey with 5 minutes to go. He's holding him off here, mate. He's not disappearing up the road here. This is fantastic stuff by Callum Brandt. Simon's trying to get what scraps of aerodynamic slipstream that he can. But wow, that Mercedes, not only rapid, but Callum's pulled some great strategies out of the hat here.
I just think down the straight, Simon closes, but in the corners, he's just got nothing left. The McLaren has churned through its tyres, and we're seeing that not just with Simon, but also with Dominic Brennan. He's getting closed down hand over fist by James Holman. And I think it's the case that the McLaren, while it is the best car over one lap, you see it half lapping in qualifying, no other cars really can seem to match it. But over the course of the race, which is where the points are scored, it seems to be a lot more even, and in the later stages, some cars just can come alive. I mean, Niels Court, going to see if he's able to catch up to Lewis Ward. I think Lewis has been able to stretch out a little bit of a margin to be safe, but here we go with James Holman and Dominic Brennan. I just think that the McLarens are struggling a little bit around here. They've taken tyres at the midway point, but even then, look at it. It's just understeering so much down here. You just see how wide he was of some of the apexes.
Yeah, it's just not quite as comfortable looking as the Porsche, and James Holman gets a great run out of the corner, doesn't he? Out of turn 5 down towards the double right-hander. There's a little battle going on.
Speed he can take into the corner as well. So much quicker through the turns, but it's just when you have to make the all-decisive move is that when it can start to be a little bit trickier, and I think Dominic Brennan is very, very smartly driving this car to keep himself up into 5th place. As what was going on there with Dan McCauley, a little bit of rally crossing almost.
Yeah, he's just had a little bit of a drama down towards turn 5. Luckily, he's still got 7 and a bit seconds over Mike Horder, so he's okay. There's an inter-boosted battle going on here. Boosted Motorsports, John Roberts ahead of Ben Gregory's Boosted Jericho, and this is for the last championship point of the race as well. So John, who's usually in charge of all these boys and getting them all signed up, is certainly not going to want to relinquish this to Ben. We've got a battle going on here between Andy Marston and Tom Weston. Andy trying to make the move as Tom's actually tried the move on him. Andy's fought back. Whoa, a bit of a wiggle on the exit by both of them as well. Tom avoids him. And there's now dramas. Sorry,
just able to overtake. Ben's just been able to overtake John Roberts. Here we go. The McLaren now ahead of the Mercedes, but I don't know. I don't think John Roberts is going to sit idly by. He's got a bit of front-end damage actually, though, John. You can see that the front is a little bit bent in, and I think that's also stopping him from able to close in. Actually, look at the gap already extending as they make their way into turn 1. So I think he's just a little bit down in top end, unfortunately, and that's seen him drop outside of the top 20 out of the run for championship points.
This is the view from Byron Crawford as he watches Tom Weston, go off the road as he tries to battle with Andy Marston. Oh, save it, Tom. There's flashing lights from behind as well, as one of the Mercedes tries to come through.
That's Callum Brandt, isn't it?
It's not, no. I think it might be... No. Is it Guy Edwards? Yes, it's Guy Edwards in the RD Simsport 2 car. He's lapping these guys now, but the battle at the front is actually getting closer. Simon Povey, 0.6 of a second behind Callum Brandt now. We're going to get 2 more laps. It's about 1:25 for a lap here. We've got 1 minute 43 on the clock. That is going to be Callum's worst nightmare. He would have wanted this to be the final lap of the race now. But no, Simon Povey's going to get 2 attempts to stick with him round here. And despite what we were saying before about the McLaren understeering and having problems, if there's anybody that's going to extract
something as well. Christopher Smith has come into the pits. Who's behind him? Ralph Meyer. Who's in front of him? Heinz Meyer. The Meyer's going to be finishing. Oh my word! Here we go.
Every flipping round, it's Heinz Meyer and Ralph Meyer right together. They may not be right together on track, but they're always next to each other on the timing screens or on the results sheet. We absolutely love them. They're so inseparable. They're such great blokes as well. They've got a great sense of humour about it. Here's Andrew Shepherd going past Christopher Smith. But yeah, we need to go back to the front, I'm afraid, everybody, because this is the battle for the lead. Callum Brandt's going to have a bit of slipstream now off one of said Meyers as well. Heinz Meyer in the 222 Orris Racing green car. One thing is that they've not teamed up this season. They've said, stuff you, I'm going to have different teams. Orris Racing green and Orris Racing purple. One of them teammates with Ryan Penny, the other teammates with Kim Such. Callum Brandt looks down the inside now. He's going to get a bit of a compromised line. Look at Povey. Look at Povey. Takes a really early turn and he knows what he needs to commit to. One more lap to go here at Road Atlanta. It's 0.3 of a second between Callum Brandt and Simon Povey for the lead of the race in round 2 of season 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Callum deploys the invisibility cloak and then deploys it again. Simon's got to keep thinking here. This is hopefully not going to affect this final battle, but with one more lap to go, Ed, it's all up in the air.
It is, and is it been maybe traffic that's played a part in this, because that gap has come way down now. Callum Brandt had to dive up the inside, and so did Simon if he wanted any chance of winning this race. But look, down through the corners, the advantage goes the way of the Mercedes. He needs to build the gap and the margin all the way through these next couple of corners. These are crucial for the race, 0.4 the gap. If he can keep that sort of a margin, he might be safe, although Simon will be looking to make that late lunge. Here we go now. This is the crucial point, getting this corner absolutely nailed. Simon turns in a little bit too early. Will that compromise his exit? He runs wide onto the grass. Oh, and it's the one time when we've seen Simon make a little misstep through that corner, and it's right at the very end.
It is indeed. That's the key moment indeed. And he's just overdone it, maybe a little bit too eager. Is Callum Brandt going to be able to hold on? He weaves a little bit down the straight. It's not too bad, though, because he's not moving around too much. Simon looks to the inside, says, I might give it a go, sunshine. He's going to try and focus on the exit. He turns in so quickly. Can he get a decent run on the exit? He's going to get a good punch off the corner, but he's not going to let him have the inside line, is he? Surely? No, Simon's got his nose down the inside. Is he going to be able to cut across? They're side by side to the line, but it's Callum Brandt who wins at Road Atlanta. What a fantastic finish. Amazing stuff with Simon Povey second. Boy, oh boy, do we treat you in this championship. Lewis Ward finishes third. Nils Core is going to be next up. James Holman's had the better of Dominic Brennan in the last moments as well. He takes 5th place for RD Simsport. Dominic Brennan finishes 6th. And Rob Sharp is going to be the next car. What a great return to the championship for Rob Sharp. But boy, oh boy, Ed, another amazing race in this championship. Oh, I love it. I love it.
What were the 3 words that we said at the start, Chaz? It's going to be great. And it was, and then some, wasn't it? That was, in fact, underselling what we saw at the end there. A titanic battle between Callum Brandt and Simon Povey right at the very end. Less than 1/10 of a second separating them at the line. But it was Callum Brandt that makes it 2 from 2 and gets his championship off to a great start. Look at this. Pete Thickett all the way around the outside. Has he got it done? There's a little bit of battling and barging on the exit of the corner. But Pete Thickett, look at that. A daring move at the very end to get himself up into 11th place ahead, or 12th place rather, up ahead of Paul Goffin there. But that was a great little battle there at the end. I can tell you that Lewis Ward was able to finish ahead of Niels Core. The gap remained at about 1.5 seconds, but what a race that was between Callum Brandt and Simon Povey. Yet again, this championship always delivers.
It really does. I mean, it's hot already, but flipping heck, I'm boiling now. Callum Brandt wins his 2nd race on the bounce here at Road Atlanta. What a great drive that was for RD Simsport. He beats Simon Povey by 0.115 of a second. An amazingly close finish after an hour long of racing. And, of course, 2 pit stops in there as well. Lewis Ward, 7.7 seconds back on those pair, but still a solid drive by Lewis for big championship points. That's exactly what he needs to just stay up there in this series. Nils Core, if I'm honest, one of my drives of the night. You know, he didn't make too many friends at Mid-Ohio with a lot of contact, a lot of sends down the inside. And, you know, not all the contact was his fault. It wasn't all his fault. But I tell you what, that was a fantastic return to form for Nils. Very well done by the German driver. James Holman finishing in 5th. What a great race he had. Started 12th on the grid. Very well done, James. Love to speak to him about that one. Dominic Brennan finishes 6th. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that after starting 4th. It was a bit below par, I'd say, for Dominic, but still, he'll be happy with some championship points, and so will Rob Sharp as well, because his return to the championship was a good one. Josh Wigglins was in 8th place. Flipping heck, he survived that one well. Dan McCauley had a spin, recovered inside the top 10, and Mike Horder rounds outside top 10. We've got to get this finished tonight, so I'll go a bit quicker. Guy Edwards, 11th place ahead of Pete Thickett in 12th. Great finish there just to get ahead of Paul Goffin. Blaine Sparling finished 14th, with Heinz Mayer and Ralph Mayer, of course, 15th and 16th. Rob Sutherland, 17th ahead of Christopher Smith, his teammate, in 18th after all of that. Despite a big accident, that's not a bad recovery. Andrew Shepherd 19th, John Roberts finishes in 20th ahead of Ben Gregory in the end, with Ryan Penny 22nd, Mark Johnson 23rd. Then it was Byron Crawford, Tom Weston, Andy Marston, Kim Such 3 laps down. Johnny Elia did not finish the race either. Neither did Drew Fletcher, Fausto Pinto, Martin Kenyon or Christian Saruta. And Philip Hopley disconnected before the race got underway. And breathe.
Wow.
My oh my, Ed. We were once again treated to a fantastic finish. And I don't really know where to start.
Surely.
Yeah,
Surely, let's just watch it again. That was an absolutely amazing battle. And Simon, he nearly pulled it off, you know. The little switcheroo coming through the final few corners. It almost paid dividends, but I think Callum just had enough of an advantage to get away with it. But also, there was a bit of drama as well, actually, further back, wasn't there, between James Holman and Dominic Brennan, the RD Sim Sport car, managing to get the best of the Spontex CDM car for the second time in the race.
Yeah, indeed. James Holman certainly doing a good job of that, actually. It was somewhere along the lap, but I don't quite know where. Maybe actually down into the final chicane. But Callum Brandt did everything right, didn't he? Held on so well in these final moments. Let's have a look on board with Simon Povey, though, about this little squiggle onto the back straight. He hits the curb, he's eager on the throttle. Now he's trying to be as open as he can on the steering just to make sure that it's as smooth as possible on the exit. And that's all Callum needed to hold on to that lead, I'd say. Unfortunately for Simon, it was a little bit too little too late in the end. But I tell you, he certainly pushed hard to close that gap down because Callum wasn't hanging about, was he, Ed?
No, he really wasn't. I mean, it was just... You see the two of them squeezing as well, one another. It's just so amazing to see that they have that respect for each other, but also know when and how to get their elbows out. Again, Callum Brandt. We do need to start taking this boy a bit more seriously, I think, Chaz.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? Awesome. And there's Holman getting past Dominic Brennan as well for 5th place. Parks it on the apex on the exit. This boy knows how to drive, doesn't he? Great bit of driving there by them. And a lovely battle all the same. But we are going to go back to the start of the race and we're going to slow-mo this so we can hear the drivers over the biblical amount of noise that's going to be going on. And we have, yes, we do have a Callum Brandt to speak to. Not that there's many of them, but Callum, welcome to the booth again, my friend. Another fantastic victory that you could say you won on strategy, but I mean, you were right up there on the pace throughout the whole thing. It wasn't like you were holding back much. Talk us through it.
Yeah, no, pace was good. A lot better than with Ohio, which is nice. Yeah, no, so I was sort of just content sitting behind Lewis and Simon first stint, trying to save a little bit of fuel, which seemed to go pretty well. And then short fueled a little bit, which most of us tend to do, me, Simon, Lewis. And then had a nice little gap, and it was going really well, but I lost loads of time when I was pitting in with Lewis, with someone else coming in. They were a bit slower going in, so lost a bit of time there. But yeah, no. And then after that, it was just pushing like mad because I know it would be close with Lewis and Simon. And oh man, that was intense at the end with Simon. I think I had 1x left at the end, so I didn't want to go on the grass and DQ myself. So yeah, epic race again.
Well, I tell you what, it was great fun to watch, mate, and I mean, a very, very well-deserved win. You come away from round 2 with a bigger championship lead, and of course, you know how close this championship can be from one round to the next. And I mean, definitely. It's another season where the cars look like they've got strengths and weaknesses at different circuits, isn't it? So it's what keeps it interesting in this type of racing. Yeah, absolutely. As always, the McLarens are just super fast, so even in the first stint, when I was behind Lewis, I was full gas and he was dropping me behind with Simon's toe. So yeah, it makes it really interesting and how it sort of ebbs and flows across the season. Some guys, sometimes you'll be quicker and have your sort of strengths in one track, and then the next it sort of completely flips and you're having to do what I did last week and try and play a strategy game or something else to try and keep yourself in contention. So yeah, it's really awesome. And obviously next time we go to one of the finest racing circuits in the world, we go to Daytona for a sunset/night race. Obviously the slipstreaming is going to be key around there. The strategy isn't going to be as easy to do because of how long you're on the throttle. But what do you reckon is going to be the key aside from the slipstream round there? Are there any points of the circuit where you think the Mercedes might have an advantage over the McLarens, for example? I think strategy would be important, but I think qualifying will be really important. Last season I completely buggered it up. I think I did a lap tap quick enough a pole, but off tracked it and ended up 15th or something. So yeah, I'll try and improve that qualifying, but yeah, trying not to lose too much time with the leaders. Don't have to be sort of going all out first stint, try to pass each other and try and build a gap. And
then yeah, you can play the strategy game, try and save a little bit of fuel perhaps, or just try and short fuel or whatever you sort of takes your fancy. So it should be pretty even. The top once the Mercedes gets going, has good top end. That's just McLaren's got the most insane acceleration of this sort of slow stuff. So it should balance out, hopefully. I think it did last year.
Well, we really look forward to it, Callum, and once again, congratulations on a fantastic victory tonight. It's great to see your season get off to such a good start. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before you go?
Yeah, all the boys at RD, and particular James. He's logged on lastminute.com because his son's got scarlet fever, so he's done awesome just to get on, and all the best to his son. And Rob Sutherland, he's been having a lot of problems. His VR wet the bed yesterday, so he's been trying to get that fixed, and he just managed. Well, I think he did it on a single 23-inch screen in the end with no force feedback, so that was pretty epic. So
wow.
And all the guys for throwing up sessions and awesome racing again, and obviously you guys at Combox who always do an awesome job.
Well, thank you very much, mate. A pleasure to speak to you as always, Callum. Great result, mate, and we look forward to seeing you at Daytona. Cheers.
Pleasure. Cheers, guys.
Well, a very calm and controlled Callum Brandt there, Ed. He's obviously a very happy boy after that. 2 wins on the bounce, though. I mean, we've not really seen it that often in this championship, have we, that people take multiple wins in a row. So Callum certainly got his season off to a great start, and that's it, isn't it? You don't want to be on the back foot, and he's on the front foot right now.
No, exactly. He's been doing everything he needs to do to get his championship back up and running, or rather up and running. It's not like he's having to come back from anything. I mean, it's great to see Simon Povey able to get a good result, but still, that advantage up at the top of the championship is going to keep growing, as we have a driver that you were talking and praising very much, Chaz. So why don't you actually have a chat to Niels Kaur, the chicane online racing driver there, who finished in 4th place.
Nils, welcome to the box, my friend. You must be over the moon in comparison to last week especially, but that BMW looked pretty good round here tonight. Talk us through your race, mate.
Good evening, guys. That went a lot better than the race at Mid-Ohio, although, yeah. I'm still not quite happy with how it ended up, because all race I just felt like my car had no top speed whatsoever compared to the other cars. I could sometimes gain a bit in the corners, but once we got onto the straights, I just kept dropping back, even when I was really close to them. It was quite annoying. I think I could have done better if I was a bit slower in the corners and faster on the straights.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those circuits, isn't it? Where there's a lot of commitment required around Road Atlanta, so it's nice to have that confidence at least in the windy bits. But it's interesting you say the BM's got no top end, because when we watch it, we always think that it's the fastest car, so we sort of praise it for being a rocket. But clearly, if you're the one behind the wheel, you know it better than we do. So it's certainly something interesting to look at going forward. It was fast in the first season at Daytona, though. Are you confident going there for the next round of the championship?
I usually quite enjoy the track. Also, I do believe the BMW is quite quick on the straights. At least it can be if you're running it on low downforce. But as we are using the baseline setups, they are all on max wing, and I feel like the BMW is just not. It's just got too much drag on the high downforce setup. Mm-hmm. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed it goes better for you at Daytona, Nils. But still, great to see some big championship points on the board early on. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go?
I would just like to shout out my team for supporting me.
Lovely stuff. Well, great to speak to you, mate. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you at Daytona.
All right. See you then.
There we go then, Niels Kaur, after what appears to be quite a disappointing race for him there, Ed. I'm quite surprised by that. I thought he'd be over the moon with that performance.
He's a man with very high standards, Chaz, and you've got to have those when you're a racing driver. You've got to always aim for the very best, and I can almost be guaranteeing that he'll be aiming for the podium next time out at Daytona, as we have a rare appearance actually from this man who joins us in the comms box, and it's Simon Povey. How are you doing, buddy? You all right?
I'm very well, thanks. Dan was just saying I didn't realise he had a voice, Simon. I've made it here.
You do. And I mean, you were quick all evening long, even beforehand. I was in one of your testing sessions and noticed how rapid you are. And I thought it's going to be a walkover for you, but you had to have your work cut out for you just at the end where you maybe run out of pace in your little McLaren there. Just talk us through the race.
Yeah, so first stint, just really tried really hard to look after the tyres, because I knew that from the last race we did here that the Mercedes was really strong at the end. but maybe didn't save enough time. It felt really good until about halfway through, and then for the last stint, I've never pushed the car that hard. It was all over the place. I don't know how it looked on the broadcast, but I was having to work so hard just to stay in the tow, and got a little bit lucky with traffic and stuff to catch back up to give me a chance. But yeah, amazing pace from Callum.
Yeah, I mean, we noticed as well in the first pit stop, you did take tyres on board. Was that just to try and negate the effect of having them on for a whole hour, maybe changing the fronts and seeing how that would affect the car going on? How did the car actually feel afterwards?
It feels awful for a lap, and then after that, it's absolutely fine. You're back to kind of the pace that you had in the previous stint. But I kind of feel that I need to test whether it's even worth doing that, because you lose maybe a second on your outlap doing that. And after a little while, the car just, yeah, you know what the McLaren's like to drive. It's very slidey for the last half an hour of these races.
Yeah, it's usually quite pointy. Then all of a sudden, it sort of stops doing that, and it's quite difficult to keep under wraps. I'm aware, because I think it was in season 1, wasn't it, when I was in the McLaren for the first couple of rounds, and especially around here, it's a nightmare. So I don't envy you at all when you get to the very end of the race.
No, it's through the S's. You could feel it. It felt so good first in. You just grip.
Yeah.
And then for the last half an hour through there, I could just see like Mercedes filling out like 2 or 3 tenths every time. I just couldn't live with them at all.
We saw your teammate having a similar issues as well. Actually, Dominic was just struggling to get the car turned in through the S's, so it wasn't just a you problem. But coming to Daytona, it's one it's a circuit that I think is a bit more favourable to the car and also to the tyres. So maybe it might be worth having a look, see what will happen there. But obviously, you've got back up to where you should be, up inside the podium places after last time out.
Yeah, it's I think we can see how strong the competition is this season. There's I expect that Niels will be very quick there in the BMW as well, and it's going to be a fuel-saving game again. So yeah, looking forward to it though.
No worries. Well, we'll look forward to you being out there. I might jump in a few practice sessions, but only if you're kind enough to not go quicker than me and bruise my ego even more than it's already been bruised. That'd be great for you, but no worries, buddy. It's been great to have a quick chat with you. Best of luck for Daytona. But before we say goodbye to you, who do you want to give a shout out to, bud? The floor is yours.
Say hi to my wife. She actually watched tonight. She came running in and said what an amazing race it was as soon as it finished. Hi to my mum. Hi to John and Vicky, who'll be watching. John's just had an operation today. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, and you guys, of course. Team boss Chaz. Yeah, you guys do an amazing job. So thank you very much. And yeah, for putting on the league. I absolutely love this league.
Played your cards right there. You saved the best for last. Keeping your team boss on side is always important.
He did indeed, bless him. But thank you very much for joining us, Simon. It's good to have a performance from you on the circuit and in the commentary box as well, mate. Good to see you.
Cheers. See you soon.
See you soon, mate. There we go then. Simon Povey nearly got that race win there, Dan, but I tell you what, it was certainly a hard-fought fight right at the front. And I tell you one man that had a real hard-fought fight through to the front from 12th on the grid, up to 5th, 7 places gained. James Holman. James, welcome to the box, my friend. You had an absolute belter there. That must have been good fun.
Yeah, the race pace was good. I mean, I don't know if Callum said in the interview, but my boy's been a bit sick there, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to race. And I just had the session loaded up on the PC and jumped in with 5 minutes left to practice, or left to qualifying, sorry. So my qualifying performance probably didn't reflect what my pace was, but I just had to be patient. And yeah, it was a good race. I really enjoyed it, and a great battle with Dom at the end.
Well, all the best to your young lad as well, mate. Hope obviously everything is okay there. But again, well done on a fantastic drive. It was a great one to watch, because at first you were slightly under the radar and then gradually just started making more and more places up. And I think it only really hit us when you came out of the pits a second time how much you'd gained. Was it at that point that it was the same for you, or did you sort of have an idea all the way through of how well you were doing? It's just that we're lazy and didn't realise.
No, not at all. To be honest, I was just taking it steady with the lack of laps I'd had tonight. So I was just sort of making sure that I didn't make any crazy mistakes to sort of lose too much time. And then I noticed my pace was really good in the second stint. I was starting to reel in Lewis and Niels, and I think Dom was catching them as well. So I was kind of similar pace to Dom at that stage. Mm-hmm. And then everyone else pitted, and I still had laps to go, so I was like, happy days. So I knew I was going to be quicker in the final pit stop, and I made one small mistake going onto the back straight on my in lap, and I think if I hadn't made that mistake, I probably would have cleared Dom out the pits. But as it was, I didn't, and but it set us up for a great final lap there into the chicane, and I really enjoyed the move. Dom was really fair as well. We went side by side a couple laps earlier as well, and it was good, fair, clean, hard racing, and I was delighted to get the place at the end, and really, really happy.
Well, it was great to watch, James. We really enjoyed watching you as well in that race, so very well done from us. Again, best wishes to your young lad as well, so hope everything is all right there. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to before you go?
I'd like to give a big shout out to my wife, because I say without her looking after my boy there tonight, so I wouldn't have been able to race. So big shout out to my wife Sam, and I think my mum's watching as well, so hi to her as well. And obviously great big shout out to Team RD and Cal. Great win from him. He's on fire at the moment, and from a team's point of view, obviously I'm his teammate, so I've got to go with him. And so yeah, it's great. And obviously a big shout out to you guys as well. Always, I love watching you guys commentate on last season, and I'm just delighted that I can be a part of it this season. So just looking forward to the rest of the season now.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you, James, and thank you very much for the kind words, my friend. We look forward to seeing you at Daytona. Have a good one.
Thank you, mate. Take care.
Cheers. James Holman, confirmed lovely bloke, absolutely lovely bloke. And again, hats off to his wife Sam as well, and welcome to his nan to the stream as well. Hope you're all enjoying the show. Well, I tell you what, Ed, we once again treated to an absolute corker there right at the end. Callum Brandt, Simon Povey right together. RD Simsport and Spontex CDM Esports Scourers fighting for the team's championship already. Apex Racing Academy in the mix too. What a season we have lined up, mate. We may have had the same driver win 2 races in a row, but there's so many people in the top, not even top 10, top 15 that could all come forward and take big points from each round. This is a real classic in the making, like you said.
So this is going to be mega stuff from now until the season close. But Daytona, what around that will be. The slipstream and the drafting, the opportunities for side-by-side battling in the infield as well. We are going to be treated to a belter in a week's time.
We absolutely are. Well, I hope so, but it's in 2 weeks' time, actually. But still...
Oh, 2 weeks. Never mind.
Our supposed special event should be in a week. We will try and announce something on that this evening. I'm going to try and put something together, so please pay attention to the Sim Racing Magazine Discord if you're in there already. If you're not, then you might have to try and find it somewhere from my social media or whatever, because I will not be able to post a link in any of the chats right now. I'm really sorry. But still, if you do want to be a part of that, then try and jump in if you're not already in the Discord, but we will try and announce something in the near future. A fantastic, fantastic win again for Callum Brandt, 2 on the bounce ahead of Simon Povey and Lewis Ward. Last season's top 3 championship protagonists all together on the podium once again in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, with sponsorship, of course, coming from Orris Digital, Crockery Direct, Blinds to Go, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, and Mydas Simulations. I've been Chaz Draycott with the wonderful Ed May alongside me for round 2 of the championship. We will see you in 2 weeks' time at Daytona. Have a good one. 4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're 3 wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been moved and a drift is going off.
Ben Gregory now, I love this. 18.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.